Michael, coffee is not enough today. Coffee, normally before we start doing anything Rage Select related, I get a big old cup of Java. Today, we got the hard stuff. Got Red Bull, and I dumped a 5-hour energy drink inside of it before I opened it. So
Jimmy Stewart says it gives you wings, doesn't it?
Jimmy Stewart?
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart specifically.
I don't think that's actually Jimmy Stewart.
Or was it when the bell rings when you take one? I don't know.
It's possible. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Rage Select podcast. Or Rage Select. I am Jeff.
And I'm Mike.
And ask me why I need the industrial strength tire juice today.
Why do you need the industrial juice? Whatever.
Yes.
Whatever you said.
Yes. So you know how it's nice and cool in the recording room here today. It's not hundreds of degrees. Well, that's because I spent 10 hours last night learning how my air conditioner works and fixing it by hand.
Oh, geez.
Because my air conditioning cannot fail at 2 p.m. when I can call somebody. It can only fail at 10 o'clock at night when there's nobody to call.
You poor bastard.
So I come home last night after a long day where I got about 4 hours of sleep the day before. Come home, had all the stuff I had to do during the day. And I was like, I went and got dinner. I got some beer. I was like, man, I just want to sit down. I want to watch that fucking that Netflix the Simpsons guy show, right?
Disenchantment.
Right. I cannot remember the name of that for some reason. And instead, it was like, okay, listen, my thermostat's at 73, but it's like 77 in here. So I'm gonna start off with a quick pro tip for anybody who's a new homeowner. You gotta change your air filters if you're gonna run your air conditioning 24 hours a day.
True.
Because as soon as I turned it off, my coils were frozen, so my entire furnace just started dumping water out. So I spent about 4 hours cleaning that up because I couldn't get to where the coils are. There was just water everywhere.
Yeah.
So basically, I did that, and then I looked up videos on how do you defrost your air conditioning, because when you can't get enough air through it's like it just builds up and then you get all this ice in there.
Yeah.
So I got all the water out. I try to dry it down. I don't want to turn it on. I don't want to do this thing. Anyway, here's the end of the story. I learned how there's a valve switch in my drainage pipe. I even found, I don't know why, I have a drain snake in my house. Like
You have a drain snake and you don't know why?
I don't know why. I just remembered at 3 o'clock, or no, it was about 5 o'clock this morning when I was getting drainage problems that I have a drain snake. So then I snook. What's the past tense? I snaked.
I don't know.
I
drained it.
I snookered my drainage pipe out. I was pulling out like dirt and gunk and crap and junk and shit. And I finally got it working at like 8 a.m. and then fell asleep. So yeah. And unfortunately, it's still going. I'm really paranoid. I keep having to check it. It's like I had the studio lights out in that hall so I could see into this closet.
Oh, jeez.
I had to go to Walmart to buy a turkey baster to get the water out of the system. It's like I had a can of compressed air that I was trying to use to clean shit out. It was hell. It was hell because the entire time I started to Google timer when I started this whole thing. 7.5 hours later, I was done.
Oh my God.
And then even then, it was like, I don't know if you know this, but have you ever had your air conditioner go out in Texas?
I haven't. Well, no, not in a long time. It has happened to me a number of times, especially when the power itself just went out.
Because this happened 2 years ago for me, and I bought a $5,000 new air conditioning, or let's not talk about how I got $5,000 because it wasn't. I love you patrons, but you guys, I don't just have $5,000 to be like, oh, I guess I can get a new air conditioner.
He sold his blood.
All of it. I sold all of my blood. But here's the thing that I learned.
He runs on Red Bull and alcohol in his veins at this point.
It's very true. It's very, very true. If you don't know a thing, but you have some level of technical inclination, like I was able to look up enough tutorials and enough different websites and enough things on the internet that I kind of have a pretty decent idea of, one, why my AC failed, and then two, I kind of now know how it works and like where there's like 4 or 5 different failure points that I had to check all along the way.
See, I used to work for Nest doing their technical support for thermostats, so I learned a lot of the stuff that you mentioned right now because of that.
Yeah.
And I realized how long that must have taken you to figure it out.
Well, and it was also like every 5, I guess at a certain point, like it was 77 when I started this process, because as soon as I turned off the air conditioner, that's when it started thawing and then all the water. And so like the water all went into my furnace and I can't turn on the electrical system with a bunch of water in it. Like, come on, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
but like the temperature just keeps going up. I think it stabilized at around 80, but the problem here is that it was like 79 outside last night. But then I also have a room full of computers here.
Yeah, this room would be on fire at that point.
So I had most everything turned off, and I finally got it to turn back on. So that was my last 24 hours. Was that I slept very little. I went to do a very manually intensive thing. I went to go do a shoot with Brian Brushwood and pals, and like outside at a bar, no less, where it was like 100 degrees. And then I came home and I was like, man, I just want to drink like 3 beers. I want to eat a sandwich, and I want to fucking pass out. And I was like, nope, motherfucker, you're going to spend forever fixing your air conditioner. But now it's fixed. Everything's cool.
Yeah, that's way worse than what happened to me yesterday.
What happened to you yesterday?
Well, I was on my way home, and they blocked off the way home with cop cars. So
I heard about that.
It took me 2 hours to get home.
Yeah.
Like when you messaged me, that's when I was in the middle of traffic at that point, trying to figure out how to get home.
Yeah, they were like, SWAT was out looking for someone?
Yeah, they sent SWAT out to some apartment building or something.
Okay.
I don't really know. Apparently it might have been a false alarm, but that false alarm cost me 2 hours and almost a quarter tank of gas. And my leg was killing me because I drive a stick shift.
Oh, right.
So yay. Stick shift in traffic for almost 2 hours.
Yeah. Anyway, the moral of my story is if you don't know how to do a thing, I mean, like the internet's a pretty good place to start. I mean, like you have to have the sense of when it's like, okay, now listen, I really would like to defrost these coils by hand, but there's no actual hatch on this thing to get to these coils. And there's a bunch of big warning symbols that are like, warning, explosions happen here. Warning, you'll die. Warning, electric. There's so much electric in here. Don't fuck with this electric. So that's
just
where
turn off all the power. It's fine.
I did do that. I cycled the power for 9 because I think that what happened at first was that it started shorting out the furnace, and that turned the furnace off. And so Anyway, balls. It was just balls.
Hot as balls.
Hot. Oh my god. No. Balls are. I would have rather had a bunch of air conditioned balls on my forehead than what was going on in here last night.
Great
it was
balls.
like inside of a butthole in the anus.
Satan's anus.
Yes, it was inside of Satan's anus. And you guys can't see it, but I'm making a real like kind of fist and an anus arm motion here. But that's what it was like, and I hate it because when it's hot in Texas, I lived in Seattle where I didn't even have an air conditioner, and in the summer you just open your windows and it's like, oh, it's 78,
so weird.
And everybody's like, oh, it's so hot. I'm like, grrr.
I would kill for that temperature at any point.
Yeah.
Anyway. Kill for 85 at this point.
Shit. It was like, I think it hit 79 last night at one point, and I was just like, oh my God. Like I would go outside and I was like, it's so much nicer out here than it is inside. Anyway, the trials and tribulations, my time in hell is over, and we're back, and we've got a whole boatload of crap to talk about this week. As I said, I wanted to talk about the Disenchantment. I got a chance to watch about half of the first episode. I'm not impressed so far, which seems to be the prevailing wisdom.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'd like to get all the way through at least half of the first season before I say.
Because it's like 10 episodes, and so I want to give it a shot. And I've had a lot of people on my Facebook feed just be like, it's not good, and that's unfortunate if that's true. But like I said, I don't know yet. So.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people say, like, I've seen this weird thing where people are like, yeah, the first season isn't great, but like it took Futurama a season to get going. And I'm like,
that's not true at all.
It took Futurama like 2 episodes because the Whalers on the Moon is not exactly the best episode they've ever made.
It's got some great jokes in it, though.
It's okay, but it's just but like by the end of season 1 of Futurama, I was just like, hell
absolutely.
Yeah.
I still quote the second episode though a lot. Well, people quote the second episode a lot only for one specific joke, which is I'll make my own moon.
Oh, with
my own moon
hookers.
Amusement Park with blackjack and hookers.
I was thinking one of the ones that I like was when they get on the small world and it's like, long ago one man had a dream, and he's like, bang, zoom, straight to the moon, and he's like, he wasn't talking about space travel. He wasn't talking about he was using space travel as a metaphor for beating his his wife.
It's a great episode.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think when they get out into the Moon Hillbilly stuff, I've never been the biggest fan of the Moon Hillbilly plots of Futurama, but
I guess that's fair. It comes up a lot.
It's fine. The first episode is set up. The second episode was kind of like getting to go, but from there, what's the third episode of Futurama?
Shit. I want to say it's the shit. Can't remember.
Take
anymore.
a guess.
Might have been the Mars one. If not, it was
that wasn't until way later.
Wait, wasn't it the?
Let's see.
Is it the delivery to the king thing?
I Roommate. It's where
it's when he moves in with Bender.
Where he moves in with Bender.
Actually,
yeah.
I should have guessed that.
And then Love's Labor's Lost in Space, which I think that's
the one with Nibbler.
Yeah.
And the first time you see Zap Brannigan.
Oh yeah, that is okay. I thought. Did you know that in the original? In the original, that they had this thing where like they wanted that when if you go back and watch that particular episode, they had this idea that as the episode went on, they wanted Zap to keep getting fatter and fatter and fatter. So that like every scene, he's just like subtly fatter than he was the scene before.
That would have been amazing.
Anyway, so yeah, well, I'll talk more about that next week. We did get his Netflix Iron Fist season 2. Speaking of Netflix,
yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna say a whole shitload outside of.
It looks like a Netflix show or a Netflix Marvel show.
We've set up the villain, and he's got the Iron Fist, and it seems like there's less. I don't see very many boardroom meetings in here, which was maybe one of the problems that I had with season 1.
Season 1 has a lot of issues more than just the boardroom things. He didn't have any emotion in the first one.
Right. I guess kind of one of the issues that I have, I think, going forward with these Netflix shows is that the kung fu aspect has become kind of like rote, right? Is like none of the action choreography since, say, like the Daredevil hallway fight, or even like because even when they did the second Daredevil hallway fight in season 2, and it was just like, oh well, this is a rehash of that. Like when you first saw that first Daredevil season 1 hallway fight, it was like, wow, that's amazing, and it's different from a lot of the things that I see on TV, like even action shows.
Yeah.
And I feel like as time has gone on, that it's just kind of become more like the kung fu fights all kind of start to run together a little bit. Like
I could kind of see that, but I still feel like Daredevil's choreography is still better than a lot of the other shows.
Right, but then you get into like, the first part of Daredevil season 2 was Punisher, which doesn't require any fight choreography, and then all the stuff with the hand starts to. There was that one in Iron Fist where he had the fight with like the Drunken Master.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was cool. But for the most part, I feel like just like in the Defenders, I couldn't tell you. There was that one where I guess all 4 of them were like fighting their way out of the building, which was okay.
It was kind of neat. I think it was only neat from the fact they're like, hey, all these guys are hanging out, I guess.
Right.
Other than that, it was like, well, I don't really know.
But what I see here is like from the first Iron Fist that they really ramped up the like kind of kung fu parts to 11. But nothing I see here stands out as far as like style. Like it just looks that they spend a lot of time showing you the Iron Fist mask now, I guess, is in the picture.
Yeah, they've been wanting apparently to use it more.
But
like
who
it
knows?
showed up once in the last season.
It looks okay, but the problem that I have is that Netflix Marvel shows, I've stopped even finishing them. Like I didn't finish Luke Cage season 2 because I was just like, I'm done with this. So unless they're really, I feel like they're all just a little too safe these days, as they all kind of start to run together.
Well, the ending of season 2 of Luke Cage is actually, I think, is kind of bold.
Yeah,
honestly, like at least the last episode. Like I'd say at least watch the last episode to see how it ends. I guess
I'm not gonna skip to the last episode.
You might as well if you're not gonna finish it.
No, this is like when people talk about Arrow and they're like, you don't have to watch the first 2 seasons, and I'm like, I'm not gonna not watch the first 2 seasons.
Well, that's different. That's an entire show worth of show.
I don't know. I feel like
also don't really watch Arrow. It's not great.
I mean, I
only like maybe 2 seasons out of that entire 7-season show.
I watched Orange is the New Orange is the New Black season, and I liked that. I liked Glow season 2. It's just I feel like
Netflix has good shows. It's just their Marvel stuff doesn't know where it's going.
Yeah, it feels too safe to me. I feel like I want them to take more chances.
Also, there's like a line in that where he's like, I didn't choose the Iron Fist. I'm like, you totally chose the fucking Iron Fist. That's the point of the Iron Fist.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. And then also, right, just real quick before we jump in, because we got a lot to talk about today, I finally saw Upgrade.
Oh, you did? What did you think of it?
I loved it.
It's a fantastic film.
I keep describing it. I don't know if this is accurate, but I keep describing it as like if Ex Machina was like an action movie.
No, that's a great way of explaining that movie.
It like feels like Ex Machina if Ex Machina was more had like a really big like a cup of John Wick just dumped into it, right?
There's so many great sequences. My only issue with the trailers is that some of the sequences are spoiled by the trailers.
Yeah,
especially some of the more gruesome parts. But overall, it's a fantastic film.
The only thing that got on my nerves was that because of the trailers, there's a part at the beginning of the movie where they're doing the setup. And I felt like it went on just a little too long because I'm like, guys, I know, I watched the trailer. I know what's going to happen here. I don't need to see this guy mope around for 15 minutes. Have him mope around for 5 minutes, and then let's get on to the fucking jumping around and beating on people. So
I love him in the wheelchair, though, pretending to not have to move.
Yeah. Anyway, Upgrade, good.
Fantastic. You should watch the hell out of it.
I'm sure it's going to be out pretty soon, so check it out. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to the video games. The big thing last week was that QuakeCon happened last weekend, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but a few interesting things. The most interesting thing was that, as promised at E3, we finally got a look at Doom Eternal, which looks really good.
It looks amazing, and there's so many great details in the thing.
Yeah, so, okay, let's see. First off, the Doom Slayer has some new toys. He's got a big arm blade, which apparently factors in a lot to the glory kills. I don't know if did he have this dash move that we're seeing a lot in here in the first one?
No, he did not.
I don't remember that happening. Also, the super shotgun now has a grappling hook that shoots out.
Yeah.
That you can grapple onto stuff.
And the normal shotgun has like this sort of weird cylindrical thing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like moving very quickly around, like fluidly through the arena.
It's magical to watch.
It looks really good. One of the things that I really like is apparently every one of the demons has like damage modeling, so that like pieces of them will come off as you're shooting at them. We see some new demons. Oh, there's a new gun. It's like a ballista, like a big kind of cyber crossbow.
Yeah.
That will go through people. There's a lot in this demo. I feel like we see some of the sub weapons, but not others. Like we see what the scope on the assault rifle is like. It seems like things are slightly different than they were before, but it very much feels like what I remember from playing Doom.
It's very much like it's that game, but with a lot more to offer than even I thought possible. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, this game just looks so fucking good.
Yeah. It definitely feels like just more of the Doom that you loved from the first Doom.
And that metal soundtrack.
Oh yeah. They got that Doom soundtrack down cold.
Oh, and this climbing thing.
Yeah, there definitely seems like there's some environmental kind of unlocked stuff. The one thing that I was a little bit I'm sure that this is just my perception in watching the trailer, but I felt like I saw the same glory kill repeated a bunch of different times.
No, it absolutely is. It's just that I don't think that's how the game was even the first one. It's just that you were having so much fun you didn't even really notice.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of stuff they probably do he's just not doing. Like there's a jump one in the other one that I didn't see until like halfway through the game until I jumped and then killed somebody.
Plus, he's doing a lot of the kills that come from just like the front, which, when you want to do the different ones, it's like you have to kind of like target an arm or target a leg or something.
I don't mind
like
them
that.
showing the same because it means that it's more surprises for me when I play it.
Yeah. I just as long as there are more, it feels like there's so much more detail being put in here that I couldn't imagine that it would be like, and then we just reduce the number of glory kills by 20% because fuck you, that's why. We know y'all liked them, but like, go to hell. Also, there's apparently like a shoulder-mounted thing that you can use for. They show it shooting missiles a few times.
They show like a shoulder cannon or something.
Yeah, they also show it doing flamethrower a couple of times. So yeah, that is all. I mean, this just like
that's the first part of the trailer, I guess. The second part, I think, is probably my favorite part.
Goes on and on. Yeah. Well, there's a second part that has where they're playing on a PC, I believe. They showed that's like faster.
Yeah, it's like in a different area too.
Oh yeah, well there's the Phobos at the end. I feel like there was something between that I was trying to find, is that they showed like a higher FOV, kind of like faster, like even faster by playing on the PC section of the game, which seemed pretty cool.
Blood punch.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. Just kind of temporary upgrades. It really does look great. Apparently, there's some kind of dumbass internet outrage, and then outrage to the outrage about
For
like
what?
that whole line with the AI where it says like, please don't call them demons. That's offensive.
Oh, I thought that shit was hysterical.
Mortally challenged, and apparently some people on the internet, you know how it works on the internet, is that there were like 3 people on Twitter that were like, I find that offensive as somebody who's
a demon,
who's blah 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 challenge, that you would make fun of my like preferred use of blah blah blah, and then the anti that people are like, millennials are too sensitive to everything. Look, here's somebody bitching about an M-rated game trailer, blah, and it's like, oh god, fuck off with that shit.
That's pretty ridiculous.
In any case, yeah. After this, the second half of this is they show the kind of introduction. Well, first off, they tease what looks an awful lot like heaven. That they're like, we're going to new places that you've never been before, and it's like, oh, so it's
murder
like
things.
a gothic city, but it's like light and not all full of like doom and darkness. I think that would be really interesting if halfway through the game the Doomslayer started eviscerating angels as well.
I would love that. That would be the greatest thing ever.
Like if they tried to open up the portal to heaven in order to combat the demon invasion of Earth, and then the angels started taking over, the Doomslayer's just like, doesn't give no fucks about nobody.
Is it canon that he's like the original Doom guy, or what's going on with that? Because that means he's like the grandson of BJ Blazkowicz, though, right?
Yes, I believe so. Because, well, I'm pretty sure that all the lore in the original Doom was that, like, yeah, this is the same guy.
Yeah, because the weird thing about this timeline is that Commander Keen is Doom guy's dad.
See,
which is even weirder.
I'm pretty sure that that's a total troll, because the lore in Doom.
No, the creator straight up has said that.
No, I know that, and I think that the creator is trolling, because the lore in Hell in Doom is that the fucking demons were around hundreds of years ago, and then the fucking Doomslayer came and started, and this motherfucker's been around for a long time.
He's been murdering in the name of a bunny.
I think that's some bullshit personally. So
I think it's amazing.
there is a part here where we see on Phobos the Doomslayer kind of walking through, and everybody's just really afraid of him.
I like to imagine that he's covered in blood at that exact moment too.
I mean, like, the Doomslayer is like a 9-foot tall guy in this like iconic armor. If he was walking around, I wouldn't be getting in his way. I would be, sir, do you need to check that weapon at the door, sir?
Also, the look on that dude's face is just like he just shat his pants right then and there.
Yeah. I personally, everything that I've seen and heard of this, this could not come soon enough.
They embraced the brutal, and I love them for it.
Yeah. So far, they have not given me a reason to. They haven't given me a reason to be like, well, I don't know, maybe I'm going to temper my expectations. It's like, no, man. The first one, I tempered my expectations, and they were blown away. So guess what? You got me all built up. I'm ready. I'm waiting. I can't fucking wait to play this game.
It's still one of my favorite shooters, single player shooters in ages.
Yeah. One of the few doing something different, not just kind of regenerating health and whatnot. But anyway, that wasn't it. We got so many more things. Well, we got 2 more things.
We got all of the things.
Yeah. Second, by the way, Doom Eternal is also launching on the Switch.
Yay.
So I didn't actually play Doom on the Switch because I feel like out of all of the...
Play it in church. Play it in kindergarten.
Well, out of all the things that
Show your grandmother.
Out of all the things that I would like to make sure have the highest resolution humanly possible, Doom is one of those. Like, I know that they probably had to take a hit in the resolution porting it to the Switch.
Oh, no, they absolutely did. They did it just for the normal Doom.
Yeah.
The first Doom.
No, that's what I'm talking about. So,
okay.
In that case, it's like I'm not super interested in playing it on the Switch if I've got to have kind of a degraded... Like, I kind of want Doom to be like running on the best piece of hardware that I have and as like detailed and gory and graphic as humanly possible.
But having it on the go does not hurt.
What's that?
Was it having it on the go does not hurt though?
Yeah, I just don't know if it's enough to make me spend $50, $60
that's
on
fair.
it. So
Other people will hopefully.
I wonder what Wolfenstein 2 is going to look like, because Wolfenstein 2 I feel like was kind of pushing the edges of my PS4. Or
I'll laugh if it just looks like old school PC Wolfenstein.
Yeah. No, we also got a 7-minute trailer for Rage 2. A lot of this is the end part of this is definitely the same assault that we saw during the E3 demo for Rage 2. There is some new information in here. It's just kind of more slickly put together. It shows a lot more kind of the world. I'm still for me I'm still a little hesitant about Rage 2. I mean, I know that I shouldn't be, and probably this is just Doom 2016 all over again, but I see what they're doing. It's a wacky world. It's kind of like it's a lot like Borderlands, right? Of a world full of crazy tanks and mutants and big guns and weird powers and stuff like that. I just kind of guess I feel like I need to have it in my hands to see what the moment to moment.
Well, it's one of those things where
looks like.
Rage 1 didn't exactly like change everything.
Right.
So your mind isn't exactly like Rage 2 is going to be even better. It's like, no, you're like, well, Rage 1 was okay. Maybe Rage 2 will be fun.
Well, I mean,
whereas Doom, you're like, Doom was the best thing ever, so Doom 2 should better be the best thing ever.
I guess I'm at odds with myself, because between Wolfenstein and Doom, like it has a good track record with Wolfenstein the Old Blood, and then Wolfenstein 2, and then Doom. Like they have a good track record of taking these old id properties and making them into something special. It's just
this isn't really that old though, is the thing.
Yeah, Rage came out. I mean, that came out when we were on the loading bar, so it was at least
it's like a 360 game.
5 years ago. I mean, that's
whereas like the last Wolfenstein game was around that time at most.
Yeah,
but that series has been around for a long time.
I guess what I'm saying is that this seems like it could go either way. I think it's probably going to be fine. I guess it's hard, especially in these ultra slick gameplay demos. Because like even when you go back to the Doom Eternal gameplay demo, I'm not going to be playing Doom Eternal the way that the guy on that stage was playing Doom Eternal. Like he made that shit look easy and good, and I'm going to be like, oh fuck, I missed that guy. Oh fuck, I missed that guy. Oh fuck, I'm almost out of ammo. I got to take cover for a second. So it kind of remains to be seen to me whether like the driving is fun or if it's just kind of a chore to get from point A to point B. Whether the gunplay, there's all this kind of like, there's this rage mode where you build up enough and then the screen kind of goes like pink and purple and all of your attacks are just magnified.
There's just something, I don't know, like I'm not too impressed though for some reason. I don't even know why. It still looks like it'll be fine, but for some reason I'm just not like, I'm not looking forward for it too much.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, where I am. I guess I'm trying to make justifications as to like what that is, because technically,
like it looks like a fusion of a bunch of different games I've played over the years.
Yeah,
like it has part Bulletstorm, part Mad Max, part Borderlands, part Destiny 2 as well. Like there's a lot of just little things that just make it look like a weird fusion of a bunch of games.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
Like that looks like Destiny.
Oh, the ground punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's, I guess, one of those things where I say I'd really like to get my hands on it because, I mean, like, again, just to reiterate one more time for those in the back seats, like Wolfenstein, I was like, oh, this is just a fucking cash grab on the name. There hasn't been a good Wolfenstein game almost ever. And then I played it and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I was like, oh, here's Doom. Here they are cashing in on that Doom name. Oh, it's got demons and you got a shotgun. Oh, whatever. It's just a bunch of bullshit. It's like a normal shooter. And I played. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
It's got demons and a shotgun.
Right. So then I look at Rage 2 and the first thing I'm thinking to myself is like, man, I don't know. You just catch it. Like, you don't got it. You already did Quake, like, right? You're just going to, you got Doom. You just got to put in Rage because that's the only other thing that id Software has. I'm like, it looks okay, but I don't know. Maybe a bit of a cash grab. But my brain is like, motherfucker, you say this every time. And every time you're like, holy shit, I love this game. So, like, why can't I just sit back and go, holy shit, I love this game?
Because it's good to be pessimistic sometimes. Especially with games. I was excited for Gundam Breaker, and we know how that turned out.
Yes. I do think that pessimism, or not pessimism, but maybe just like
realism.
Don't get your hopes up. Like if you try to stay neutral, then it's like if it's good, great, and if it's bad, I wasn't really like, Anyway,
it's no Crackdown. I'm just kidding.
is anything Crackdown?
I hope apparently not though.
We learned a few different things about Fallout 76 as well. So I don't know if you saw the way that they described how the special system is going to work.
No.
So basically, special is now it's very strange, right? When you level up every 4 levels, you're basically going to get a like a card pack, right? That you open up that has perks inside of it, like different perks. And what's going to happen is that each one of the numbers on your special are not going to, I think that they might actually raise just your base skills a little bit, but the way that it's going to work is like, so everything starts out at 1, right? Let's say that you put a point into perception, into P, right? When you open up these card packs, you're going to get perks, and the perks are going to be tied to each one of those special stats, and then they're going to cost a certain number of points. So, like, if I have a 2P card that gives me an extra, % damage or something like that, you can slot it into that P as long as you have the number to get it in there. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, sure.
I've got a card that's going to go on the perception rank. Or here, let's just say S, right? Because that's easy.
Yeah.
You got strength, right? You got a thing that says plus 20% melee damage, and it's a strength card, and it costs 2 strength points, right? By default, all your skills are 1. So if you add a point into S, you have 2 points. That means you can put a 2-point card into strength.
Oh, okay.
Let's say you leveled up strength to level 6. Well, now you can put a 2-point card, and another 2-point card, or a 2-point card and a 1-point card and a 3-point card, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have the number that it takes to slot. So more powerful cards will cost more, so you'll be putting them into more skills.
Oh, okay.
And then some people were asking, like, well, since this game isn't going to have NPCs and it's just going to have other characters, what the fuck does the charisma stat do, since you're not going to need that?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And their answer was that charisma skills will be like team buffs. So if you attach stuff to your charisma stat, it'll basically be like additional buffs and damage and modifiers for anybody that's on your team that's near you at the time.
I don't think that's how charisma works, though.
Yeah, I don't think Fallout 76 has a lot of weird. I don't think that's how any of it works, but
I don't remember that ever happening in a D&D game.
No, I don't remember it ever happening in a Fallout game.
Yeah.
But in any case, it seems like an interesting system. It'll be interesting to see kind of when the B.E.T.A. comes out, what that kind of translates to. The other thing is that now I know that some people are going to be thinking, because I said the magic word that triggers gamers. Now they come in card packs, right?
Yeah.
In card packs. So then you would expect for a multiplayer only game with a card pack, but Bethesda specifically came out and said, we're never going to be selling these card packs for real world dollars. They're just going to be in the game. Now, we all know that never is a long time for a company when they like money, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 3 years down the line, when it's just the hardcore playing Fallout 76, that they'll be like, okay, well, now you can buy them for $5. We don't give a fuck anymore.
Well, they didn't say we're not going to be able to charge you to buy the currency that's in the game. So
very true. But then you also can't buy the card packs in the game. They come like every 4 levels. They also come with a piece of gum, apparently.
That's like what?
That your character could chew to basically reduce their hunger stat.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm
That's actually kind of clever.
Okay.
A clever use of the card pack.
Fair enough.
But that gum's probably like 100 years old.
Right. So I'm going to run down. This is from an IGN article that's called 7 Things We Learned About Fallout 76. Because I didn't have a chance to watch like the hour-long Todd Howard keynote interview. Trolling. Okay. So you're in the world of Fallout 76 and somebody comes up and they start attacking you. If you attack back, then it's PvP, whatever, right? Whoever wins, wins, right?
Yeah.
Somebody taps you and you're like, okay, let's fight, right? That's how it works. If you don't, well, first off, we already know that anything up to level 5, you can't even engage in PvP.
Okay.
Once you get past level 5, if somebody kills you and you don't fight back, then they essentially get branded as like a murderer, and they get an automatic bounty put on their head, and a few things happen. 1, they show up on the map as a red star that everybody on the map can now see. 2, the bounty comes out of whatever money they have, whatever caps
Oh my God,
they
really?
have. Yes. 3, their ability to see anybody else on the map goes away. So it's like a real risk reward thing.
That's
about
amazing.
Do you want to take a chance? You want to take a shot and fucking fuck somebody over because there's consequences? And what was the quote? There'd be a wanted murder. I think it was Todd Howard said that they wanted to make, quote, assholes into interesting content. So
That does sound kind of amazing, though, actually.
depending on the size of the map, I find it interesting that somebody just like, fucks you up, and it's like the bat signal goes up to just be like, hey, everybody want some caps? Now, what you would spend the caps on, I don't
Card
know.
packs. We all know that.
No, but you can't buy. I just said you can't buy.
You can buy gum then. I don't know. Buy Tootsie Pops.
I guess
Find
maybe-
the Indian to get a free Tootsie Roll.
vending machines or something. They are going to see about adding mod support, which I feel like is a real weird thing because, like,
It depends on what the mods are.
Yeah, I don't know.
If the mod is let me see people after I kill them.
Well, so for my, what it comes down to for me is modders. Traditionally, when Bethesda says to modders like you can't really do anything past this point, modders don't like to be told what they can and can't do with the game,
no.
right? So I feel like it could be strange considering you guys have to balance for online, like giving people access to mod support. I don't know. That's not that
That's
one
a
is
weird
was
idea.
super weird to me. Photo mode is going to be to take your selfies, put them
Oh,
online, do stuff, bullshit. When you die, you get to keep your weapons and your armor and everything. The only thing that you drop is basically your crafting junk. So things that you would use for crafting is what will drop off of you when you're killed, which again makes the retribution for people who kill you seem especially harsh, considering they're just going to be getting what, like a bunch of materials
Yeah,
to
a bunch of like old TV parts and shit.
yeah. Apparently, you're going to be able to save your house, like with a blueprint, so that one of the things that people were worried about with the whole nuking aspect is like, oh, I'm going to spend all this time making my house, and then some asshole is going to be like, and then it's gone. Apparently, you can kind of back up your house into a blueprint and then just be like, and I don't know if you're going to need the materials to build it again or
how
what.
does that work entirely, I guess.
But, and last but not least, Fallout 76 is not going to be available on Steam.
Really?
It is only on the PC going to be through the Bethesda client that has the Fallout Shelter and the Bethesda Scrolls or whatever it's called, Elder Scrolls Online.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, it really is, considering that I don't think that people are always super happy about being told where they can buy their stuff.
Oh, no, they hate it.
I've got 600 games in my Steam library. If I bought every single thing that's on that Bethesda app, I think I'd have like 9 games. So it's kind of like,
It's a little strange, but
I've got like 8 games on Origin, and I hate Origin so much.
everyone hates Origin.
I usually just uninstall it until there's a game that I really want to play.
Especially after what happened not too long ago.
Yeah. So anyway, that is Fallout 76. So we got some Doom. We got some Rage. We got some Fallout 76.
And John Denver.
What's that?
And John Denver.
I don't know if we got any new John Denver this time. Oh, I'm sure they probably played that again.
Yeah, I bet you they did.
Whatever they did. So that's all good Bethesda news. Unfortunately, before we leave the Bethesda news category, there's some bad Bethesda news. Well, I don't know. Okay, this is one of those stories that I'm going to describe what happened, and I'm going to tell you why I'm of two minds about it. I don't know if you've read about this.
I think I heard of this one.
So,
Yeah, there it is.
a guy named Ryan Hupp bought a copy of The Evil Within 2 unopened for the PlayStation 4. He was going to buy a PS4. He decided instead, I'm just going to upgrade my PC. So he upgraded his PC. He's like, I'm going to play The Evil Within 2 on the PC. So he did. So he's like, okay, I'm going to sell my PS4 copy of The Evil Within on the Amazon resale page. So he put it up, said, brand new copy, never been open, buy it, whatever. Bethesda's lawyers jumped on him and said, no. And I feel like that's about what most people know about the story, or about what they go. And they're just like, Bethesda's trying to keep people from selling stuff. Like, Bethesda's trying to keep people down.
Well, I remember I tried reading into it when I saw this news story come up, and it was really more intricate than I think I could understand on some of it.
So I'm not a lawyer, and I'm going to do this as best I can, but
He only knows bird law.
That's only bird law. There's a thing called the first sale doctrine, and it basically means that, like, if there's a manufacturer implicit warranty in the product that's sold as, quote, new, it basically exists when a manufacturer ships their goods to an approved retailer, and then that retailer sells it to you, and let's say that it has like a 30-day warranty, right? But then it doesn't have a 30-day warranty if I buy the thing from the place and then I sell it to you as new, because you're getting it through a different outlet, right? And that's as near as I can tell, that's kind of what the problem was here. Was not necessarily the guy who was selling his copy of Evil Within 2, but he was selling it as a new copy. That he was basically presenting himself as like an authorized seller of Bethesda goods, which I know that I feel like a lot of people would be. Your first instinct is just like, well, come the fuck on, right? Like, you guys know better than this. Like, of course, this person isn't an authorized Bethesda retailer. Like, I know what's going on. But then I start to think about how, like, shit on Amazon's getting dicey, right?
It's super dicey.
Like, you can never tell anymore, like, where you're buying a thing from. I've had things that looked like I was like, okay, this is great. It's listed as brand new. All right. And then I put in the order and it's like, hi, this is coming from China. It'll be there in 3 weeks. And I'm like, what? Fuck you. Like, no, I'll buy the other thing that'll be here tomorrow.
So when I worked for Google Express, like, to mention how dicey Amazon and eBay and all these places are, is that sometimes people order something on Amazon who will then buy it from eBay, who will then buy it from Google Express, and then it'll be shipped to you that way.
Right.
This shit happens all the time, apparently. So yeah.
What's strange is that I feel like 2 weeks ago, 2.5, 3 weeks ago, Nintendo went after the Emu Paradise and ROM Central or whatever the fuck it was. And I feel like, okay, that's Nintendo cracking down on a subsection of things that they aren't interested in. I feel like this story, for how it's being portrayed, is about one person. It's not about...
It is like one dude. That's what makes it so strange.
Right. It's not like every copy of the Evil Within 2 that's on eBay is gone. It's not like you can't, I feel like it's just has to do with one person selling through the Amazon system as a new copy with something they bought from retail and then are reselling as new. That's where it is.
It's the strangest thing about the story.
Yeah.
It's not like he has like 10 of them and he's selling them as new.
Right.
He had one specific one that he wasn't going to use, and then he had lawyers come after him.
Right. I guess I don't know what to think about that. I mean, because fucking,
it's overstepping in my opinion. Because like if he was selling, like I said, if he was selling like a dozen of them, then sure, get on him for it. But he was just selling like one copy that he just happened to have.
Right.
That's my only issue with it, more than anything. Like, I get why they did it, kind of, but only from that point of view. But since it's just a dude with one game, that's my issue with it.
Right. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it because, I don't know, if I can pay a bunch of lawyers and I got to do something, but which is not a good argument. I think that maybe this should have started with a letter to be like, nah. But then again, I can almost see a lawyer's mind going like, we could politely ask this guy not to do this, but he could also jerk us around for 2 days and then this thing is already sold, right? And then and then what are we going to do now? I don't know. It's weird. Because again,
even when you say it like that, it still sounds like it's a dick move on their part, though. Because like he sold it, and then what we're gonna do? We're fucked because we tried fucking with him. It's like that doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess I feel like
it looks bad on you at that point.
I suppose, but again, it's not like they went out and shut down every single third-party retailer that was selling a used copy of The Evil Within 2 or Doom or Fallout or...
But that's what makes it so weird, is that they weren't doing that. I would be more accepting that they tried that than just fucking with one dude.
See, I
don't even know why, though.
I think... we do know why. It's because he sold that thing as new.
No, not that. I mean, I don't know why I would be more comfortable with that than I would if they just went after one dude.
I guess I'm on the opposite side because I feel like if they started cracking down on every reseller doing used games, like, I think that people should be able to buy used video games, and I think that's bullshit. I think that if you want to sell your thing online And if the whole crux of this is you can't sell it as new, you got to say it's like a resale, it's used, it's refurbished, whatever it is, right? You can't say that it's new because new implies that you're buying it from a specific retailer. The word new when you're selling a product means something different than our slang of just new. Like it actually has a legal context. And if you are out there selling a thing to a person and saying this is brand new, that there's something, I don't know.
Again, I'm not a fancy Laura. I'm only from the South.
Right. I don't know. It's weird to me because, I
don't know. This story could go on for a while.
I think the thing that I object to a little bit is that I feel like in our race to get news every week that this happened and people are just like, Bethesda's attempted to suppress every used copy of a video. And it's like, no, I don't think that's happening here either.
Luckily, it's not what happened, but people got scared for a second, and I can't blame them.
I don't know. Maybe take like 5 minutes and see if it's just one guy.
It's probably just gonna. It's probably never gonna get brought up again.
All right. Well, if you are looking for something to buy off of Amazon, maybe you need to buy a Nintendo Switch because Diablo 3. This is the worst kept secret in all video games. Diablo 3 is coming to the Switch.
Yay!
Shock, shock and awe and shock. In fact, they had a little. I don't think this is the trailer. Yeah, this is just the trailer. They had a whole thing with like Reggie contacting the head of Blizzard and like he's like, I just sent you a Switch, and he's like, oh, I've got 100 of those, guy, and he's like, but you don't have what's on this one, and he like, it's Diablo 3.
He's like, it's porn. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
How did you even get porn on here? I mean, for the Switch ecosystem, it seems like a good game to have.
It's a great idea, especially on the go. You could play with like random people,
right?
It seems like a good idea.
Ad hoc Wi-Fi. You can play it with, the trailer implies that you can play with ad hoc Wi-Fi. You can play it 2-player. You can play it on the couch co-op. I'll be interested to know if you can play it with each one of the Switch side the Joy-Cons.
That's a good question. Actually,
I think that Diablo might be too complicated for that because if I remember correctly, on the console you end up with all 4 shoulder buttons and all 4 face buttons in order to pop your specials, right?
Odds are good that you can't then if that's the case, unless there's some super simplified mode. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. This is Switch. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's gonna have all the expansion content, the Crusader one, and then the Necromancer update, and all that stuff.
Do you know how much it's supposed to be?
I do not. Let's see. I might be able to,
because I was at work and I was overhearing some people talking about it. And
see, can I search? Does this actually have like a search Amazon? Yes, it does.
They were blatantly saying they probably would not get it if it was full price.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing to remember, of course, with Blizzard products is that, full price, $60.
Oh well, I guess I know some people who aren't getting it.
Is that or at least that's what Amazon says for it. I don't know.
It could go down. The Amazon says they just put that as their default.
Also, you got to remember that Blizzard puts their shit on sale all the fucking time.
True, very true.
This holiday there'll probably be a sale. So, but yeah, that's coming this fall. And in addition to that, on the Nintendo Switch, because it's Nintendo, you got to have some stuff. They have a Ganondorf skin essentially that you could put on your character in Diablo 3 on the Switch to make him look like Ganondorf. Also, these little wings that you can put on. Also, it looks like you can get a Kuko pet that'll follow you around.
That's kind of neat.
But don't hit it too many times. I don't know. I don't know. This is one of those where I'm like, okay, cool. Like the Switch is a pretty decent little system with a lot of I feel like it's interesting how it's almost like Nintendo realized that, like, if you bought a Wii, right? If you stayed with Nintendo, if you were Nintendo loyal, you bought a Wii, and then you bought a Wii U, and then you bought a Switch, and then it's like, hey, guy, we're really sorry about the Wii U. Here's all the games that you missed by having only a Wii U.
Yeah, they fucked up bad with the Wii U. Like, every third party wanted nothing to do with them back then.
Yeah.
Now they all want to ride on that Switch.
Yep. So, yeah, you haven't played Diablo 3? Great. It's actually really fun on consoles. I played it a few times. Really fun. I'll tell you what was almost on the Nintendo Switch, or maybe the Wii U, or maybe the other thing. This is a very strange story. Yakuza Apparently, Yakuza was originally pitched to both Microsoft and Nintendo, and both of them were like, nah, we're cool. You can keep it, which I feel like is weird because, like...
Well, how long ago was this?
That's a good question.
Because that's the thing, is that Nintendo used to be pretty weird about M-rated games at one point.
Yeah.
It wasn't until about like the Wii where they were kind of liking the idea of maybe putting some mature stuff on it.
This was around the Dreamcast era. So.
Yeah, then that would definitely explain why Nintendo would say no to that.
Yeah.
Microsoft though, they fucked up.
Yeah, boy howdy. If there was one thing, and can you imagine if Yakuza was a Microsoft exclusive game?
Oh my god, that would be fucking weird.
That would have fucking moved units in Japan. That would have moved Xboxes in Japan.
Oh, absolutely, but I don't know.
Anyway,
it wouldn't have helped Nintendo all that much, I think. Although Nintendo did make up for it by, financing Bayonetta 2.
That's true. Very true. Yeah. Speaking of huge fuck ups, Black Ops 4 multiplayer beta. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad. I actually kind of liked it. So apparently, if you're interested, the Black Ops 4, they had a whole blog post on Reddit about the things that they learned from the beta.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
Things that they're going to be adding. Apparently, armor was a little bit too overpowered, so they're making a bunch of things. Just changes to the Fog of War, the mini map. One of the things I found really interesting was, I think I told you when we were playing it, one of the characters has the ability for you to spawn or to deploy a mobile spawn point.
Oh yeah.
That people can spawn into, and apparently that's kind of like fucking up one of the metrics that they look at, which is the like time between when you spawn and when you die, because apparently in multiplayer Black Ops they don't want you to just like spawn immediately into a firefight. They want you to have a couple of seconds to kind of get your shit together before you're inevitably killed.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of things that are happening to Black Ops 4 before it actually launches.
Where's the people fucked my mom section?
No.
None of
That's
that?
not
No.
one of those. Not one of those.
Unfortunate.
Just turn off voice comms. Turn off voice comms immediately.
What about the my dad works for Nintendo or uncle works for Nintendo section?
I don't think that either.
Is that still a thing? I think that's still a thing, right?
I don't think so. I think that.
Or maybe it's now my uncle works for like Microsoft or PlayStation.
I think if anybody said that, it'd
Or
be
for the
like,
Call of Duty.
show me his LinkedIn profile because we have technology, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's way harder to get away with something like that now.
Yeah. Also, we had an announcement about when the Blackout beta is coming, and so that's September 10th. And basically, no info outside of what solo, duo, and then 4-person. What do they call the quads? Yeah. So solo, duo, and 4-person battle royale in the private beta for that.
That will be very interesting.
Yep. I'm sure that we'll end up looking at it because I'm always really interested to see. Speaking of battle royale, this is a weird human interest story. I don't know what is going on, and I don't know if you even heard about this because I run in some weird circles on the internet. All right. Do you know Ninja, the guy that's the Fortnite streamer? So last week, he was basically asked about he made a statement. I don't even remember what this was in regards to. It was with Polygon. He was talking to Polygon. And he basically said he won't stream with women. And the reason that he won't stream with women is because if there's any kind of chemistry or flirting or whatever, blah, 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 it just becomes nothing but clickbait videos about like what's happening between Ninja and blah, blah, blah. And he's married and he just doesn't really want his wife apparently to have to go through that is the question. And
it's a valid argument. I don't know.
So here's
the fact that he said it made clickbait titles. So
yeah. So we do have a bunch of clickbait titles because he was talking about it. But there's been a lot of pushback against him of him basically being like, whatever your reasons that this is just sexist, like you could be like lifting up good female streamers to be on your stream and then like shine light on those people, blah blah blah. I kind of understand where the guy is coming from.
I absolutely get where he's coming from, but it's still not something that he probably should have said out loud.
I agree with that, but on the third hand, I don't think he has an obligation to bring anybody on his stream.
He doesn't have an obligation to anything. It's just that saying it at all meant that these kinds of titles would pop up.
Right.
Which is a shame because he was trying to avoid things like this to begin with. And that's the problem with being internet famous, I guess, is that anything you say can be taken completely out of context, even if it has good intentions.
That is why I have carefully cultivated a personality that not many people on YouTube watch. It's all been a plan.
Oh, jeez.
I only trust the 700 of you that watch this on YouTube. Everybody else, I don't want people writing clickbait articles about whether Michael and I are going out. That's just not something that I want to do. I don't know.
Couple
again,
balded beard man.
I also feel like that Ninja has reached a point where it's like he's got that YouTube money now, where it's like, I mean, this guy needs to do this for like 3 or 4 more months, and then he's like, he's done for.
His 15 minutes are starting to go down,
right?
But he's got enough money where that shouldn't be an issue.
Honestly,
he could cut it and run right now. No one would blame him.
So I don't know, but I guess I'm also
just hang out with Drake or whatever.
Kind of the question becomes, I just don't think the guy has an obligation to bring. I guess maybe here's a better way to put it. If he does bring people on his show all the time, I don't think he has an obligation to bring other people onto his show, right? However, if he does bring people on his show all the time, and they're just all other Fortnite dudes, and there are a bunch of, I don't even know, I don't watch Fortnite on Twitch. Like,
I don't either.
Are there a bunch of lady Fortnite people who are good at the game who could use
there has to be, according to this news story.
So I don't know. I'd be interested to know, not to just be completely Philip DeFranco over here, but I'd be interested to know for the people listening, like, what do you think that this is a big deal? Like, does it seem like the sort of thing where the guy is like obligated to make sure to spread his fame around with other people?
See, to balance it out, he just needs only gay guys from now on.
Sure. Yes, that's it. No, I can't make that joke. I can't. I'm not using gay as a derogatory term. I'm not doing it. I used to do it when I was a kid. It was the 80s. I didn't know no better. I don't do it anymore. Anyway, let's have a segue that has nothing to do with anything. Right. Last week, we talked about this asshat fuckface over at IGN.
Oh, yeah. I was hearing about this.
Yep.
Not even that long ago. I think yesterday I was listening to somebody talk about this.
Philip Mewson, who, if you remember, took an article about took a YouTube channel's review of Dead Cells, chopped it up, kind of repeated bits of it like verbatim, put it together, and made it the IGN review. IGN, for their credit, they took it down. They contacted the YouTuber, and they were like, in fact, I even heard that they were like, oh, we're looking at what kind of reparations we can make for them to, because to say, hey, we're sorry, this guy's an asshole, right? So afterwards, this guy made a video, which has been deleted,
I've heard of,
where he was like, oh, he basically did the bullshit apology, where he was like, sometimes there's things and they happen and blah, blah. He just kind of avoided actually apologizing to this guy. But he also kind of said that he kind of slanted his video to make it seem like news websites were coming after him to try to, I think it was Kotaku specifically, was coming after him to try to, it's like, Jason Schreier wants a bunch of hits, so he's going to write stories about, me. He's like, I invite you to look through all of my reviews, and if you find anything wrong, it turned out to be a really fucking bad idea. Or maybe it was from Polygon, or no.
No, it was Kotaku.
It was
Kotaku.
Anyway, it's come out the guy's a fucking asshole. Like, he's copied a whole bunch of different reviews. He even copied parts of another IGN editor's review in one of his reviews for a different game. And in fact, I think the pièce de résistance is that his resume is even like built off of a very common resume template. So his resume is like built off of something. So
that's amazing.
So, at this point,
dumb dense motherfucker.
IGN is basically, they've taken down most of his reviews and are looking through all of them to be like, yeah, and then they're like doing new reviews for the games. They do that. This guy's what a wang, man. Like, just,
Well, I was listening to
how long did you think you could get away with this?
Yeah, I was listening to a former IGN person, Elena Pierce, I think was her last name. She was talking about it, and she was like, yeah, the dude, when they hired the guy, he never said he was a writer in any shape or form, and most of his reviews were about Switch ports, and so he would just take like the Switch ports part and just put for the Switch, and then just add it to the part of it kind of thing. Like he didn't have to do anything,
right?
And so like it was obvious at that point the dude had no fucking idea what he was doing.
Yeah, what a turd salad.
He's a terrible person.
He's a bad guy. He's bad.
Just look at it. Just look at him. He looks like a Frankenstein villain.
Yep. He goddamn, yeah, he's got a real smug mug. All right, let's from there move on to trailer time. Oh fuck, we are goddamn it.
That's what happens whenever we're here. Whenever I'm here.
Yeah. All right, new Spider-Man trailer is out. This is a 2-minute long one. This is J. Jonah Jameson running his podcast, and Peter Patterson is calling it.
Peter Patterson.
To talk about. It's funny because J. Jonah Jameson's arguments against Spider-Man in this game seem ridiculous. He's like, did you see him running along walls and flipping? Walk on the street like a regular person. It's like
that's kind of how Jonah was for a year-long time.
What? And he's like,
like there's the ones where he accuses him of being the lizard every other like 20 seconds for some reason.
See,
he knows full well he's not the lizard.
What I think is interesting is that there's a better way. I feel like there's a better way for J. Jonah Jameson to essentially just be like, what'd be really cool, I would really like if they did in this game, is make J. Jonah Jameson like an Alex Jones, who is just like is just lying through his teeth.
I'd be cool with that.
And like he's lying. He's got a YouTube channel. I tell you what, I would pay good hard money if there was a part in the Spider-Man game where J. Jonah Jameson was selling supplements.
I think it would be even funnier if he accuses Spider-Man of making the frogs gay.
He's turning the lizard gay.
All that radioactivity and shit.
He's like, apparently there's like drop points around here. You see in the trailer where he's got like backpacks that are webbed to certain places in the city.
Man, he's forgetful as fuck.
J. Jonah Jameson is just like, he's got backpacks all over this city with who knows what inside of them. And it's like, what? What? What's your problem here, dude?
I think the strangest thing about that is the webbing is only supposed to last an hour.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. See, he's like, he's got labs with research. Get a permit to do regular research, idiot. And I'm like, what, dude?
I love J. Jonah Jameson so much.
Stretching your credibility here. Anyway, as with everything else, the Spider-Man looks like it's shaping up to be really, really good.
I am so goddamn excited for this game.
I was actually having a conversation with Chris about this earlier today when we were recording, where I was like, there's a blind spot between both movies based on video games and video games based on movies, where I feel like both sides of that equation would like to do zero amount of work, and just that they feel like there's like no matter how bad the game is that we make, we're going to get X amount of money because of the fandom for the thing. Like, think of all the Beanox Spider-Man games were like okay, right?
I really like Edge of Time a lot, actually. But that's because its plot is actually pretty good.
Yeah, but this I feel like goes to show that if you just give the property to a good studio, give them a big budget and some time to work on it, that they'll crank out something that everybody's just like, oh, fuck, I don't even really like Spider-Man, but that game looks badass, right?
And give them a lot of freedom. Like, that suit they made for it is interesting. Like, I've gotten used to it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's still not, like, I still probably won't use it as much as I would his normal outfit, but
if the spider wasn't white, I would totally use it. It just looks a little. He reminds me of Captain America with the white spider.
I could see that.
In any case, brand new. There's a lot of like taking selfies and giving high fives and doing stuff in here, and I'm just like, oh, this looks very charming and great. Can't wait. It's like what, less than a month away at this point?
It's September 5th, 7th,
two weeks ish away.
Not that far away.
Yep. World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth has a trailer called Embers of War. The game is actually out this week. I thought this trailer was interesting, not for any of the things that are said, because it's just a bunch of Warcraft gobbledygook there was like, you desecrated on the memoriam in the 17th Voltars, and I'm like, what? Okay. What I was actually really interested in was it seems like they're applying the Blizzard animation style to kind of really high-res Warcraft models with a nice lighting engine over them.
It kind of reminds me of the South Park episode where they would use the in-game models to talk.
Yeah, I could see that.
But more up-resed.
There's this one point where this big lady comes out and she's like, you know, and just like her facial expression and her general movement is like loads better than I feel like anything that I've seen. And what I was thinking was, if they can do this with the in-game models, if Warcraft looks like this now, I mean, like if your quest givers had something that resembled a small cutscene instead of just like, here's the thing, hit accept, go, then if they could make Warcraft look like what this trailer looks like, I would probably be back into playing Warcraft.
It would make me want to consider it.
I don't think that it's going to. And I went to try to install the game, and it's 52 gigs, and I have a 100 gig solid state drive. So I was like,
that's sideways.
I don't know. I'll have to clear out some space on my old drive or something like that. But I don't know. All of the stuff here that I'm seeing in this trailer is all, it seems like, using the in-game footage, but it's all framed so well that if they could make the game look like this, I'd be 100% down. So.
Like it's not like the other trailers I've seen where it looked like it was like it could have been a DreamWorks film kind of thing.
Like pre-rendered.
Yeah, super pre-rendered.
Or even the Overwatch stuff where it's like of a higher, you know, the fact that it's in engine looks really good. Let's see. I'm going to start cutting some stuff here. We got a Hitman 2 gameplay video that just is like an excuse for me to go, I love Hitman. It doesn't really show anything new. It's still the same car race area that we've been seeing since E3. Hitting people with a fish, etc.
I do like the fish attacking thing.
Yeah. Battlefield 5 has a Gamescom trailer, Devastation of Rotterdam. We're kind of, I feel like, doing the huge here with a what's the song that they're using? It's like a Rolling Stones song.
Oh, I'm not sure.
A soulful cover of a Rolling Stones song, while people during World War II just blast the crap out of every single thing around. I was kind of curious to know if the people that were all bent out of shape about the way that the characters looked in the Battlefield 5, that trailer where they all looked weird and samurai sword and stuff. Yeah. This all looks like just like a World War II game, right?
Yeah, this looks like pretty par for the course Battlefield kind of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of what everybody said was wrong with the other trailer.
Right. So I'm wondering if this is going to kind of assuage some of the people who are like, "Oh, Battlefield 5 is just for SJWs now." You know, I don't know. It does look very pretty, but it's still Battlefield. There's like some limits as to how much of this style of gameplay I'm interested in.
I do appreciate that a lot of the stuff in the trailer can still happen in a Battlefield game.
Right.
Like planes flying overhead, shit just exploding.
Yeah. It's a very, very frenetic trailer. It looks really good. They also just very briefly at the end show what I'm pretty sure is Battle Royale. It's a bunch of people fighting in a circle of flames that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
I gotta admit, it's actually a pretty interesting way of doing it. It's just that everything around you is just on fire at all times.
Yeah, and it's all just moving inward towards, Well, I guess it's one of those things where, like, the fire in Battlefield looks so good that,
it would actually be kind of terrifying, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Instead of running away from the energy wall, you're running away from just, like, fucking flames.
From death.
Yeah.
Like, I would just pretend that Godzilla's on the other side of that thing, and I don't want to fuck with him.
Shit, it's Godzilla! Let's see. I'm not going to talk about The Quiet Man. Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise has an action trailer. I think that what we've said before is pretty similar to what we're saying now. There's a lot of heads exploding into big, giant fountains of blood.
I know I'm just going to keep saying you're already dead every time I play this game.
There is a part where he picks up one of the... It's like there's a big sound effect that occurs over somebody, and then he grabs that sound effect
and starts fucking amazing.
Beating people with it. It's pretty goddamn amazing.
I can just be like, you're dead again already, and then just keep saying that over and over again.
Yeah.
I love this shit where like you do the move and then it says what it is the same way it does. I think that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, as since it's being made by the Yakuza team, I do find it interesting because it seems like there are more enemies on screen than you would see in Yakuza, but less than, like, I guess what was the last one was a Dynasty Warriors game, right? So
yeah, it was like a Dynasty Warriors type game.
So this kind of seems like a weird cross between the two.
It helps that there's a lot more exploding people in this than there would be in Yakuza.
Yeah. Can't wait. Let's see. And finally, in the trailer news, we had the sing-along launch trailer for Wailing Heights, which if you haven't watched it, you should go watch it so that I'm not the only one with the song from this stuck in my head.
It's pretty fucking amazing.
I'm going to say this is a game that came out on the PlayStation 4 this week. But as soon as Amanda got whiff of it, she was like, "You better not play that without me." And I know why. So you'll be seeing Wailing Heights probably next week. They're still out, but the week after that when they come back.
Yeah, they're at Power Morphicon right now.
Yes, indeed. All right, couple quick things, and then we're going to take a break. Dark Souls on the Switch finally has a release date, and that's October 19th of this year. Gone Home also has a release date on the Switch. It's coming to the Switch.
They're still releasing Gone Home on things?
I think this is the last thing that there exists. It's already out on everything else. Yep. August 23rd of this year.
Everyone knows how it ends. No one cares anymore.
Not if you had a Wii U this whole time.
I guess.
Never out on the Wii U. In a strange move, Let It Die is going to be coming out on the PC by Steam. So I think like Suda, with the Killer 7 release coming to the PC, Let It Die, if you don't remember, was the Suda 51 free-to-play kind of Souls-ish.
Like a kind of beat-em-ish.
Yeah, it's like a third-person action game. It's got a lot of weird. It's got Uncle Death, one of the greatest characters of all time.
He's rad as hell.
Yeah. So if you haven't ever played that, it's going to be free to play. Might as well give it a shot.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, you're not going to be able to play is a new Dishonored game anytime soon. Arcane said that Dishonored is going to be on hiatus for a little bit. So if you're looking forward to, I was thinking that next year's E3 we'd be seeing a Dishonored 3, but probably not is the answer. What they do in the meantime, not sure. Spyro is getting pushed back to November release.
That's interesting.
Yep, I don't have that. So I've closed the window. But yes, it's moved back to, I think it's November 13th is when it's going to be kind of out now. And now just a couple things quickly for funsies. I don't know if you've seen this. There is a $1,000 collector's edition version of Resident Evil 2 that comes with a Bluetooth manual typewriter.
Okay, I literally just talked to a coworker about this typewriter. This typewriter is $250 for like a US one.
It is.
Like just by itself.
Yes.
So that means like what is the rest of the money being spent on?
That's a good question. The $250 version is a little bit. It doesn't have any of the Resident Evil like livery
is that what it is
on it? Yeah. Because yes, you can buy this directly from.
They're really fucking cool too.
Yeah, it's
because I saw a review on it. Like the knobs, one of them's a volume button, the other one's a scroll one, and the little tab, or not the tab, but the thing on the silver thing. It's basically an enter button.
Oh, the carriage return.
Yeah. Which is fucking awesome. This thing is cool as shit.
Yep.
And I want one. I'm not gonna lie.
And it's mechanical, right? I wasn't able to find anything.
It's a wireless keyboard. It sounds just like a typewriter.
Right.
When you type with it, it's really cool looking. Yeah, I literally found out about this typewriter thing yesterday.
There you go.
But I didn't even know that Resident Evil was going to have one of these.
Yeah, but the Resident Evil 2 collector's edition, the one in Japan that's selling $4,000, is apparently going to come.
That's super fucking cool. I want one. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
I think
really cool looking.
$250, not a bad idea. We're actually just looking at a YouTube video here of it. It looks pretty nice. I wonder what does it sound like when you tap on it. Oh, it's got a nice kind of clacky.
Yeah, they said it feels very mechanical whenever you use it. It's got a wire that you can use to make it a wired keyboard.
There you go. I just don't know that I need anything. I don't know if I want to play a first-person shooter with clack, 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 clack. I remember those days.
Yeah.
I remember those days when you could hear somebody playing Counter-Strike 2 rooms away because all keyboards were clack, 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 clack.
Yeah. Or just typing of the dead.
I remember when I first started doing Rage Select, I still had an analog keyboard, and I had to worry about where I put the microphone because if it was too close to the keyboard while I was playing a PC game, you just hear clack, 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 clack.
I could never actually use it at my job because I have a mic on me at all times.
Yeah.
And so they would hear that like no fucking problem.
Anyway, last but not least, one trailer that I held back. This trailer is hilarious. I don't even care if you want to play this game or not, but Surgery Simulator is coming to the Nintendo Switch, as with everything else. And apparently it's the CPR edition, which is, I think, co-op play ready, which you can use this as normal. Apparently you can play with motion controls with one of the Joy-Cons, which That sounds like an amazing way to play Surgery
Absolutely.
Simulator. And then not only that, but you can hand the other Joy-Con to somebody else who literally is like a second arm in the horror nightmare world of Surgery Simulator. I want to play this so bad. I want to play it co-op.
Amazing.
I don't think I want to ever play it in public. But
no, you absolutely should play this in public. Play this while you were playing Doom at your grandma's house or in that kindergarten that I was telling you about earlier.
yeah. But this is coming in the autumn for the Nintendo Switch. I tell you what, dear listener, during the break music, pause this and go watch this trailer. It's fucking hilarious.
It's amazing. It's only a minute long too, so you should watch this trailer.
Yep. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we are going to answer some questions, so stick around. And we're back. And it's time for that thing that everybody loves so much. It's time for questions and answers. A little Q&A, if you will. MailRageLite.com is the email address that you can send your questions into. And our first question this week comes in from Euro Salamander, who writes, "Greetings, oh glorious Jeff and fabulous co-host Mike. All hail the mighty dog lord and praise be to Jesus who spooched for our sins." Sometimes I really regret the narratives that I've created in this website.
It's too late now.
Yep. It's far too late. With the recent rise in Cthulhu-related games, Call of Cthulhu, The Sinking City, and that Antarctic VR game, I decided to bite the bullet and finally read some of Lovecraft's work. I got one book containing some of his most popular short stories, and while I found it an interesting read and definitely see how it influenced so many later writers, I found the book a bit too much in its undiluted form. Now my questions. Do you have any favorite games that you can definitely say were inspired by Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos? And if you've read any of his work, what did you think of it? Best regards, your loyal Swedish patron, Euro Salamander. So first off, let's deal with the second part first. Well, I don't know. Let's deal with the first part first. Favorite?
I only have an answer for the first part, I guess.
Really?
Honestly, because I've never actually read any of his actual works, to be honest.
This is the video game one.
Yeah, so I have an answer for the video game part of it.
Yeah, what is
which
it?
is it's Bloodborne.
Motherfucker.
Because I fucking love Bloodborne.
Motherfucker.
It's so the atmosphere is just so interesting.
Yeah, are y'all hearing this? Are
Yeah.
y'all hearing him just like take the words? He snatches them right out of my mouth.
It's a good game.
Fucking Bloodborne. Give me a break.
It's a really good game.
Yes, it is.
As for other Cthulhu-based game ideas, I don't really know too many other ones that I've
I think
played.
the original Alone in the Dark Cthulhu
I feel like it might have been.
game. The thing is that Bloodborne is probably the best example of a game based on
It absolutely
that
is.
mythos.
And the Mouth of Madness is probably the only other thing that's like that's a movie though. That's kind of like
influenced
by that.
Call of Cthulhu. Okay, so you mentioned Call of Cthulhu, which was the one. Okay, so here's that's Dark Corners of the Earth, which I've never really gotten a chance to play all the way through. Okay, yep. Here's some other ones that are interesting. Eternal Darkness kind of has some Cthulhu-ish kind of overtones to it, which I feel like is good. And then Amnesia definitely has because the original Amnesia had this whole sanity meter, don't look at the monsters or else you'll go insane kind of thing. It's a little bit roundabout, but in a certain way I could recommend, even though I haven't played that much of it, but I've heard a lot of the scuttlebutt around it, the Thing video game.
Oh yeah.
Because I always feel like the Thing is kind of Cthulhu-esque as I
could see that.
a weird thing.
Well, if that's the case, then I think Dead Space would count as that too, wouldn't it?
I think that you could probably...
Because I love Dead Space. That's another game that I could really say
I think you could probably put that on the list. It's not exactly Cthulhu, but let's see.
Oh, it's on there right there, huh?
Yeah, yep. I'm just looking through some lists here to see if I can find anything else that I feel like... It's not something that gets done very well, and I feel like a lot of the problems with that are because so much of the Cthulhu mythos is based on like this kind of unknowable thing that you can't really get close to, which
you're not supposed to be able to describe it to begin with,
right? Which doesn't work very well in a video game medium because so many of our games are about like direct confrontation with like bad guys.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really lend itself over. Here's another
That's why
one.
what works the best in Bloodborne, though.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see it in the beginning, and so when it shows up, like it does become this almost indescribable thing when you first see them, kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I gotcha.
That's how I felt when I at that point, because I didn't know they were there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I finally started seeing them, I was like, "What the fuck?" The kind of thing. Like they caught me right the fuck off guard.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know how to describe it. I was just like, it's just giant fucking fuck you monsters.
Yeah. The first time that you go from like you're kind of just playing through the game, and then suddenly it's like, what in the shit?
And then you're like, oh, they were there the whole time, and you're like, really?
Right. You know what? There's a lot of horror games that kind of have tinges of that. Like I'm looking at a list here that has Alan Wake, which I kind of feel is less Cthulhu and more maybe like I don't know. There's like a lot of weird reality bending stuff that's going on in there that I feel like you could maybe kind of make a case for that. There was another one here that I saw that I was like, oh yeah, right, which was let's see. Darkest Dungeon, which has like specifically kind of an eldritch class that like summons big tentacles to attack the enemies. It's also very grim. It's a very grim game with a grim world. It's very dark, which is I feel like kind of fits into that same thing. There's another one that is what the fuck is the name of that game? It was a 2D Metroidvania style game that took place in like the future and kind of had a bit of like an old one's bent to it that I feel. Oh shit! What
sounds familiar?
The name of that? I played it all the way through to the end. I feel like it had a very Sunless Sea also is definitely one.
Oh, okay.
That's like you're kind of going out into the oceans of madness to kind of find stuff. That's one that I've never really been able to get all the way into. Hold on, let's see.
Is Cthulhu in the second South Park game? Or is he only in that one episode with the coon?
Yeah. It's when you go into the cops. I'll have the Eldritch one in the basement, right?
So I guess that counts.
Cthulhu, Metroidvania, procedurally. I'm just going to type in some keywords here.
It'll probably pop up.
Generated. It was a fun game. It was hard. It kind of had a steep learning curve. Is it Chasm? Sundered? I think yes, Sundered.
Oh, I remember that.
Is another game that has a lot of kind of Cthulhu inspired stuff to it, even though it's very strange. It's got a lot of kind of like big mouth gaping monsters, and it's worth a look as well. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with that as a thing. Lust for Darkness definitely had a Cthulhu thing. I played that with Bryce on the dojo.
Oh geez.
And it was like a bunch of dandies that are trying to basically like kind of summon elder gods through sex magic, and so there's a lot of like nude people and shit like that.
Oh geez.
Oh, yeah. Also, here's another two. One that we played for a Patreon video and one that we didn't play. But Fathagan is like a board game style where you basically are trying to resurrect the old ones in a variety of different ways. And it's like, it's a very simple game. And it's like every day you pick, like you go to a different place and you kind of like make decisions. Just real kind of basic decisions that give you these chits that then at the very end of the game you can kind of use to a certain degree or another to summon certain types of old ones. And then last but not least, Cultist Simulator is a very popularly received thing. And it's very much like just a big board that you put these cards down on.
Oh, okay.
And then the cards have a timer on every one of them that is like doing a thing. And so you kind of make your story through putting cards down and getting new cards and then using them or not using them because you have a certain number of cycles that you can use to do stuff. So
it's very interesting.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch.
I feel like Lovecraft has started getting a small boost in the media as of late, especially with Guillermo del Toro constantly trying to get one made still.
Right. PT, I feel like, or that Silent Hills kind of had a lot of this depends on whether you're looking for specifically something with a bunch of tentacles or whether you're looking for like the creeping unknown vibe that you get off of Lovecraft, which I feel like is good for horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even like The Evil Within 2 from, when Amanda and I played it, had this kind of surreality, unreality kind of what the fuck is going on. Now, as far as Lovecraft, the author goes, you say you haven't really read any of his stuff.
No, I've never. I've always wanted to, but then every time I've considered, I just never find myself trying to find it.
It's so I've read it. I think that I read it when I was a teenager, and I think when I was a teenager, I was just like, I wasn't really analyzing the things that I was reading as much. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that I picked up on it, but I wasn't like, aghast at Lovecraft's horrific racism because
that's the other thing.
I guess I kind of assumed that. I guess I just didn't ascribe any malice to it. And I'm not afraid to say that I think I'm a way better person now than I was when I was 16. I hope everybody's a better person now.
I would hope so.
When you were 16. But I just don't think that I was like really reading into it. I was more just kind of wrapped up in the individual story stuff.
Yeah, which is fine.
So, like, The Color Out of Space is, to me, one of the best of his because it's just, this meteor comes down and it's got this weird color coming off of it that is a color that nobody's ever seen before, and it just drives everybody insane and destroys the land, and it's all fucked up and creepy. I do feel that Lovecraft works best in short form. The more time he has to talk about stuff, he can be real ponderous as a writer to get through it. It's kind of like chewing cardboard because he's he doesn't write in a juicy way. He's just very kind of like describing it. And I don't know how to say this, but like, when you read everybody's been forced to read Charles Dickens, right?
Yeah.
You know how like Charles Dickens, and there'll be like 4 pages of just describing like some bullshit.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, and then I wrote a letter to Theodore, and I hadn't heard back for 4 weeks. I could barely stomach my tea and crumpets. And then on the day it was raining, and I remembered the postman came. He knocked very loudly, and the Theodore's letter had returned. And I'm just like, holy shit, what did he say? Like, I don't need to know all this stuff. That Lovecraft writes like that. He writes in a very overwrought way, in my opinion. It's interesting though because what Lovecraft does in a lot of ways is something you can only do in book form. It's harder to do in any kind of visual media, which is that he tells you little bits and then kind of lets you fuck yourself up because you don't know what this thing looks like. He'll be like, it was a big mass of tentacles. And you're like, oh, so you're just imagining that. You're kind of imagining the worst thing that you can imagine instead of, I feel like in a video game, a lot of times it's like, look at all these tentacles, and you're just like, oh, okay, all right.
Okay, do I cut them with a sword, or what do I do, kind of thing?
Right.
You don't freak out from it, yeah.
But as I've gotten older, the last time that I tried, which I was probably a decade ago, to read any Lovecraft, I was just like, hey, vague guy. Like, it's kind of weird because it's almost like because of his weird, irrational, fucked up hatred of minorities, not just minorities.
He hated everybody.
He hated a lot of stuff. He was afraid of everything, right? And I feel in a lot of ways that's what made him a good horror writer, is because he was able to translate his fear of basically everything into prose. The problem is that the price of that fear was that he was a terrible racist.
Yeah, he was a terrible person.
A lot of that comes out through it. So, you know what? Euro Salamander, if you want something, I know that not a lot of people feel ways. You know who H Bomber Guy is?
Yeah,
he does YouTube stuff. He did a video that was basically just him talking a lot about H.P. Lovecraft, and one of the interesting things that he brings up in there, because he talks about this movie that was made about Shadow over Innsmouth, but it was all about this guy who was gay who came back to his hometown and how they were like shunning him, and it didn't have any monsters in it, right? But it was like kind of the story of, because Shadow over Innsmouth is about a bunch of people who have all had sex with the fish people, and in return for that, they become very wealthy because all of the money that comes from the ocean is basically making everybody rich, but they're all turning into these fish people, and eventually they'll go back into the water to worship this old god that's underwater. And so this guy kind of comes back to town and slowly figures out what's going on and is kind of shunned and attacked by the local populace. And it's weird. The movie that he's talking about is this real low-budget movie about this guy who comes back, and he's gay, and the whole town is kind of like trying to get him to come along with them and stop being gay and his outsiderness and blah, blah, blah. And H. Guy talks about how like it's kind of interesting because apparently there's a thing where H.P. Lovecraft is also very popular amongst people who have been made to feel as outsiders because he was himself almost the ultimate like self-imposed outsider because of his hate for everything. He was afraid of all of society because he felt it was violent towards him. And so it's almost like people who have kind of outsider status or have been, through race or sexuality or gender or whatever, have found themselves kind of on the outside of what would be considered the thing, almost like can identify with his characters who are very much like the one sane person in an insane world.
Yeah.
Even though the guy that wrote this would fucking hate them so much.
Which I think is hysterical.
Yeah.
It's such a great irony.
If you're interested, you may go watch H. Bomber Guy's thing about that. A lot of his stuff isn't for everybody. He's got like an hour and 45-minute rant about how Sherlock is the worst thing of all time. And to be honest, after watching it, I kind of agree with him. He also has an interesting series about the Lisa games.
Oh, okay.
Which look very interesting, but I just got done listening to Bonfireside Chad talk about the original Nier, and I feel about Lisa the same way I feel about Nier. It's like, oh, this is a 60-hour RPG about like crippling depression and futility. I have no interest in playing 60 hours of very downbeat post-apocalyptic, you're the monster, et cetera kind of stuff. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of you were the monster the whole time. Some of the time.
Yeah,
it depends on how it plays out.
Yeah. Also, Pathologic might function as a game. I was thinking about that's kind of in there. All right, next question. This one comes in from Michael. And Michael says, hello, Jeff and Michael. Thank you for reading my question. I have been following the development of Cuphead since it was announced, and one of the things that broke my heart was hearing it was an Xbox exclusive. Thankfully, it was released on Steam as well. Cuphead has seen immense success, selling over 3 million copies. But I believe it would have had more success if they'd stuck to their guns and didn't ironically sign a deal with the proverbial devil for marketing. But what really worried me is that this amazing game and franchise seems to now be on the Xbox side, and Microsoft has been somewhat wasteful with acquiring or working with companies. See Rare and the canceled Kamiya game Scalebound. My question is, say you were in the same position and like the Cuphead devs had remortgaged your house to finish your passion project, and a company came up and said that they would help you out for exclusivity rights. Would you take them up on their offer? And what is your general opinion on the Cuphead situation? Thanks again, and that's from your loyal fan, Michael.
I feel like I actually did send this in. I know I didn't.
Did you do it?
No, because the thing is... No, because the only reason I know I didn't is because I never actually got to play Cuphead either way.
This handsome emailer with all of their smart and
very handsome
ideas.
Handsome, sexy man.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I really wanted to play Cuphead, and then it turned out to be an Xbox exclusive.
Right.
And I remember being extremely bummed out by that. And I never really got to play it because of that. But as for the actual question itself, I've seen enough like movies about and cartoons and stuff about people getting revenge on pretty much that exact premise to be like. But in real life, like when somebody wants to do something and they don't have the money, and then somebody is like, "I'll give you the money if you sign this thing or whatever," and then they get fucked over and they got to fight Superman or something, that kind of thing. That's the Toyman episode.
What movie is that?
That's the Toyman episode of Superman, the animated series. That's pretty much what happens in that. Literally, what happens in that episode.
Right.
But in real life, for game developers, that could make or break them sometimes.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to like it's not like a shady Yakuza man walks up to them and says they'll give them money.
Right.
It's Xbox walking up to them saying, "Hey, we want you to be on one of the biggest consoles out there, like, period." You're not going to say no to that, to be honest.
Well, okay, so what I find interesting is that Cuphead probably could have made it on their own because there was so much buzz from the first time that people saw Cuphead.
Yeah.
It's almost like how Fez like the first time you saw Fez and you were just like, whoa, what? Like, I want to play that. Like, I don't give a fuck where it comes out. I want to play it. Cuphead probably had the clout to be able to push through onto Steam and then PS4, Xbox.
I feel like they got their initial funding from them though right away.
I think it worked as an indie dev for a little time before
I'm
that.
not really sure on that one, to be honest.
But the main issue is, like, if you were making something that was, say, a really good game but it didn't stand out very well, then signing an exclusivity deal with Microsoft would mean that, like, you know, you're going to get pushed through a bunch of their channels to people that otherwise would because these days, if you're releasing, say, just an indie PC game, you get lost in the shuffle. Fuck, the PlayStation Network is full of garbage these days.
Yeah.
Like, it's you know, it's hard to stand out in a crowd, and so having the 500-pound gorilla like Microsoft in your corner to basically put you on either in a montage or to push you out on stage at E3 for a few minutes or just to talk about your game or on their Twitter that is read by a bunch of people. Like, hype is really important to selling your game, and especially if, as you say in your story, that the guy had remortgaged his house to try to finish the game. Like, you need to make sure that this game is going to fucking sell, right? And you know, the whole kind of deal with the devil thing, I feel like is interesting because I feel like we hear about those deals with the devil when they don't work out.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
But we don't hear about it when they totally do work out. Like, you know,
we sometimes kind of do because sometimes it works out, but then like years down the line, then it doesn't work out. But those are so much rarer than they used to be.
I'd be willing to bet that, like,
although it happens every day with EA, so
I bet I would be willing to bet you there are like a bunch of examples of this where things all worked out well. Like, I haven't heard a single horror story come out about the Square Enix collective, right?
Well, no.
You know, Tokyo's Dark or whatever, and Black, whatever that other one was. Like, I get emails from them all the time about stuff that's coming out. So, if I was making a game and a company wanted to come, I'd probably think about it, right? And see, do you want to really remain independent? But if their thing is, we're going to take a percentage and then you give us system exclusivity and then we're going to put the full weight of our advertising department behind you, that's kind of a load off, right? If you're an indie dev, like if you're a game development studio that has a PR department, that's one thing. But if you're a team of 4 guys that are making their passion project for like 5 years, then, like, do you really know how to cut a trailer? Do you really know where the best place to market is? Do you know how to push that stuff into the right areas of YouTube where it's going to get seen before the fucking Jimmy Fallon's latest thing, right? You know, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, whatever.
You know, any one of those late night guys, like O'Brien and Fallon tend to show them the most.
Right. Like, can Microsoft get your game on for Conan to play, right?
Yeah.
You know, can you get pushed out in front of bigger YouTubers or at least make some kind of deal? Because I got companies that reach out to me all the time that are indie companies. I get like 5 emails a day from indie companies. They're just like, hey, our thing, or like, here's a new announcement, it's embargoed to blah blah blah, or like, hey, everybody, just want to let you know this is coming out, there's a closed beta for this weekend. I ignore most of them because I've got 10 slots to fill on Rage Select. 3 of them are Patreon, 1 of them is a sequential. That leaves 6 left, and that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And, you know, like, I'm not going to put every fucking tiny indie game that comes through on its own slot. So, you know, there's going to be some limitations. I think that if I was making a game and a big company came to me and they wanted to make it system exclusive, I think as long as I'd probably go at least for the Cuphead deal of, like, we'll launch on your platform exclusive for a time, or launching your platform with full exclusivity but also on the PC, just to make up the difference, right? I don't think that's a bad thing. I do think it sucks that, you know, if you got a PlayStation 4, you can't play Cuphead, but
then again, you know, I didn't remember you liking that game anyways.
Well, I mean, it's not just that. Like, here, let's put it this way. If you have an Xbox One, you can't play Bloodborne.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't play Horizon Zero Dawn. You can't play Crackdown on the Switch. You can't play the new Rabbids and Mario game on the PC, right? Like,
exclusives happen, and sometimes you just accept it.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, it can be advantageous because if a company is willing to pay to get you on their platform, then that can give you a little bit more security than you would have just rolling the dice, which, you know, you publish Gone Home on Steam and suddenly it blows up and it becomes everybody's favorite indie darling game this year. Great, that's great. But,
and now it's on the Switch.
Right. But all you have to do to see the opposite of when that happens is go down to Steam and see all the stuff in here that have you ever heard of it. Like Michael and I played Graveyard Keeper this week, and that was just kind of a based out of necessity. And there's plenty of weeks where there would be bigger stuff that I wouldn't put on because I never would have touched Graveyard Keeper. Graveyard Keeper turned out to be great. Also, I didn't know this when we played it. It's by the makers of Punch Club.
Oh,
yeah,
did not know that.
Hell, there's a Steven Universe game that came out last week. I don't know.
Steven Universe got a game last week?
Yeah. It's called Steven Universe Save the Light. The screenshots of it.
Oh, I saw commercials for this.
Look relatively okay. Seems like a kind of interesting art style.
It looked like a decent game from the trailers.
Yeah.
Because it's like an RPG-ish kind of thing.
Yeah. Who could say? I mean, Chris and I played that Adventure Time game, and it's like the 4th or 5th Adventure Time game that's come out in the last 2 years.
I remember the first one they made. That one was pretty funny.
It's hard to even stand out a lot of times. So if you can, that has a lot of weight. Like it has a lot more weight than just nothing, right?
Yeah.
They got something big out of that. They got to be one of the things where when they trotted Cuphead out on E3 stages 2-3 years in a row,
blew so many people's minds the first time.
Everybody was just like, "What? That looks great. That looks great." Whereas, if they were a game that came on IGN on day 3, in the middle of the day on their stream.
The thing is, it's not like Sega walked up to them and said that they'll pay for it and it'll be exclusive to Sega.
Right.
Like I would probably say no to that, to be honest. But if Microsoft, like one of the biggest fucking companies in all of gaming right now, currently,
yeah,
I'd be like, yeah, of course,
yeah,
because you have so many great things going for you.
Yeah. All right. Will writes in and says, "Hello, Jeff and Mike. My question this week has to do with RPGs, with obtaining equipment in these games. I have started getting into RPGs recently, having played West of Loathing, and now getting into Battle Chasers Night War. And while there's a lot that I like about these types of games, one issue that I have is dealing with going through the hassle of completing a quest or a challenge, and for my reward, receiving a weapon or an item that is of a lower level than the stuff I already have. To a point, I realize that this is inevitable, since there is no way to predict how much grinding a player will do in order and in what order they will complete the quest. However, there are some times that I feel like the reward for a quest might needed more thought. For example, a few hours into Battle Chasers Night War, I received a crafting recipe for a sword. In order to craft that sword, I needed Lysolot fangs, which only drop from monsters in a specific area. To get to that area, I had to complete a dungeon, which upon completing it rewarded me with a sword that had better stats than the sword I had a recipe for. In short, by the time I could craft the sword, I already had a better one. Do you think that there's a way for RPGs to overcome this problem, or is it inevitable due to the structure of these games? Have you played any RPGs that handle this problem well? Thanks, Will.
That's kind of a tough one because that's kind of just how RPGs are. Like any RPG I've ever played has that exact thing. Is that you'll get a weapon that turns out to be better than the weapon that you would have gotten at the end of a quest. Other times it's just like I was just grinding for hours and I get to the point where I had so much money I could buy whatever the fuck I wanted.
Right.
And so at that point quest weapons are kind of pointless, but at the end of the day those weapons are there not sometimes because you didn't get the sword that was stronger than the one that you got the recipe for. Like it's all a lot of times it's just kind of random. But when it does it the best though, it's usually when it's like you need to get the ultimate weapon kind of thing, and it's this long series of like epic things to get to that point where you can get the weapon that's like almighty and better than literally everything else. Like that's when those quests really do pay off, I think, more than anything.
I in some ways disagree. And I feel like most RPG makers should be able to track, Octopath Traveler may be a little weird, right? But Octopath Traveler, it's like every so often you just get new weapons in the store, and since most of your weapons come from the store, they're able to basically keep you on a curve, right? But I feel like there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. One, you should know that your player is going to be going from point A to point B to C to D. You're going to have a map for what your player is going to do. You can't predict if a player is going to be walking around in circles, getting up to level 100. But you can say that there's not going to be a weapon in this area that's going to be better than the weapon that's in this area over here, so that as you move through the game, you have a progression. Now you could say RNG might have a problem with that, but I feel like Diablo does a really good job of tracking like your level and then customizing the RNG loot to stuff that is going to be progressing upwards. Like you get a lot of trash loot in Diablo, but they do still have an algorithm in place to keep throwing you new stuff. The other way that I feel like you can do I don't know. It's the sort of thing where it depends on how your loot is set up, but I think that it should be fairly easy. I don't really have that much of a problem with that in games anymore.
I haven't had an issue with that just in general. Like, because every RPG I've played and at all has always had that issue that he's talking about. Like,
Really?
It's not like every single one I've ever played. Like Earthbound, every Final Fantasy game I've ever played, even the Mario and Luigi games, I've had that sort of thing happen to me. Like it's a way of life with the RPGs for me.
See, it's weird because I can't remember a time when it was that I can't remember a time when it was that egregious where it stood out so much for me.
It happened to me it still happens, or not still, because I honestly don't play RPGs as much as I used to.
Right.
But when I grew up, that was always the thing. Like I'd play Earthbound, I'm like, oh, I got this brand new fucking cool bat. And at the end of the quest, it's like, here's a pretty cool bat. And it's like, well, it sucks compared to the one I have now.
Yeah.
So you just throw that shit away or you sell it for stuff. Because sometimes when you get those better weapons and then the stuff you get at the end of the quest, you can just sell it for way more loot. And then you end up using it to get more potions and stuff. That's one of the reasons I've never had an issue with it.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the thing is that it I feel like it happening from time to time, but I don't feel like I don't feel like
Persona
I've ever played.
5 is another time it's happened to me.
I guess I don't feel like of the RPGs that I play that it's like an epidemic. Like it's a thing that happens so often that I'm just like, fuck, I can't get a good weapon over here, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I just got this one weapon. I'm going to spend half the game playing with this one weapon because every single thing that comes through, like to me, that's bad game design because, again, you can track where your player is going to be going, right? So if you give me if it's RNG loot, that's one thing. If it's random, okay, you might have just a thing where you fucked up. You got something way more powerful than you're supposed to get. However, games know, like Persona wouldn't give you a weapon from this dungeon that was better than anything you were going to find in the next dungeon because that would just be bad game design because you want to keep the player hooked. Also, another thing that I feel like wasn't brought up here is stats and level requirements. Is a lot of RPGs have it where it's just like, this is a level 30 sword, you can use it when you get to level 30. If you're level 29, you can't use it. And so you'll end up getting a thing from a quest reward that might be better, but since you're locked by level, the developers, it's a really easy way for them to just be like, there's no way this level 24 sword is going to be better than this level 30 sword. Or you get into situations where you'll have like an upgrade path where it's like, I upgrade the shit out of this level 24 sword, and it is technically a little bit better than level 30 sword, but the level 30 sword has not even begun to be upgraded yet, and I can get that upgraded all the way to +8, and it's going to have like gargantuan.
Yeah.
Or, Dark Souls does it through stat requirements for stuff, so it's like you have to be able to have, like, you can pick up a great club at the beginning of the game, but you have to have 25 strength in order to be able to use it. So you're not going to be able to use it until you're at least level 25, and that's if you're pumping every single thing.
That's usually how a lot of RPGs fix that sort of thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just like yeah, even with some of those RPGs I mentioned before, sometimes it's like you have to be level 7 to even consider staring at that thing.
Right.
Kind of thing. And sometimes that's just how it works out.
I guess, it's like I've been playing Octopath Traveler, which I feel like is kind of falls into that category. And I haven't really had that as a problem. And I think it's mostly because you just buy weapons and cash is a little bit scarce. But I just trying to think. I mean, I'm sure that it's happened from time to time. I'm just trying to think if there was been a game. You know what? Darksiders 2 had a system where they had a certain level of orange loot where you could literally feed weapons to your weapon to make your weapon more powerful. And all I fed my orange weapon was purples or higher. And so I ended up using it through like 80% of the game because I was just pumping every weapon into this thing, which is a system that I feel like I would like to see more often, where you can take your weapons and then give more weapons to your weapons and then make them more powerful.
That's what I appreciate about Destiny, that you can do that with some of your guns.
Yeah,
you can make your gun eat other guns to be more gun-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or especially I like it when you can when they start having like because Destiny has this thing where it's like for your cosmetics, right? Where it's like an armor set, where if you get armor that's better than your armor, you can basically just like feed it to your armor to get your stats up to whatever those stats were. So you can keep your cosmetics the way you want them. But then I also feel like cosmetics are a thing that every game that doesn't allow me to customize my cosmetics, I'm just like, boo on you.
It is a pain in the ass.
Boo.
I don't understand why not War of War games don't.
I don't want to look like a quilt. I look like a quilt full of garbage. Anyway, Will, allow me to just say briefly, not to cast any disparaging marks, because West of Loathing isn't really very much of an RPG, but whatever, it's fine.
That's
I like
whatever he wants to play. Let him play what he wants to play.
West of Loathing and Battle Chasers both are, I feel like if the further you go up in like quality of RPG, the less you'll probably will see the situation. Like, I don't know.
I just don't know how true that is. At least in my experience.
I guess I just don't like. It
happened to me a lot.
I've been playing RPGs recently, and I haven't seen it.
Well, I guess it's a recent thing because he said a long time ago.
I don't know. Captain Innuendo writes in and says, "Howdy, Jeff and Michael. Captain Innuendo here with the podcast question. Video game trailers can be amazing at getting people hyped for a new title or getting you ready for the next game in a franchise. What are some of the best video game trailers you can think of, and did the games live up to the hype? For example, the Mad World trailer for the first Gears of War blew me away when it first came out. Really set the tone and atmosphere of those games. Did it? Really? Another example would be the Oh No You Didn't trailer for Mercenaries 2. Along with that game, wasn't the best. I remember really enjoying the trailer. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. And as always, your patron, Captain Innuendo. P.S. Is there any hope for T-shirts in the future? I still wear my first year anniversary shirt to parties and have to explain to people what a sex chud is. I don't know. Do you want to design them, Captain Innuendo? That's my problem. I don't have time for anything. I spent 10 hours wrestling with my furnace last night.
Oh, yeah. That's
I don't got time to make video game shirts.
Well, he mentions the Mad World trailer, and I have one of my favorite answers, which is Bad Company, which makes fun of that trailer.
Yeah. I personally think that the Mad World trailer fucked it up, because that's the reason why that Battlefield 5 trailer has a slow version of a...
They fucked it up for everything, even movies.
Yep. Movies do that shit. The Infinite Warfare trailer with the David Bowie cover.
Yeah.
Take your pick about take your game. There's at least one Assassin's Creed trailer for every game that is like, oh, listen, here's a slow ballad version of your favorite song.
It's so fucking frustrating. And what's funny? I finally heard the original one again for Mad World, the actual original version of Mad World.
Oh,
for the first time in a long fucking time.
The song, and
I forgot how incredibly upbeat the original version was.
Yeah,
compared to the one that's everyone knows from Donnie Darko.
Oh yeah.
Because the one from Donnie Darko is the one they used for the Gears of War trailer,
right?
Which is the super mega depressing version of it, that everyone knows and thinks is the original one, and I had forgot was not the original one until like a week ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, trailer wise, I know there were some that just got me super hyped. But I'm trying to remember off the top of my head at least.
I got a bunch.
I know recently Fighters made me the first time I saw the Dragon Ball Fighters trailer, I was just like, I am so incredibly fucking pumped that you have no fucking idea.
For me, the way that Blizzard or Square is for cinematics, there is one company that makes trailers that, even though I haven't been happy with the latest ones, fucking Rockstar makes trailers that I will get drunk and watch the trailers. Because all of the GTA 4 trailers were amazing. GTA 4, not the greatest game ever, but the Welcome to America, Get Up Ladies, the one for The Lost and the Damned, the Bow to Gay Tony trailer, those were all great. One of the best trailers, though, in the history of all of video games from start to finish is the My Name is John Marsden trailer for the original Red Dead.
Absolutely.
It's so fucking good. It shows you what that game's going to be. It doesn't pull any punches. It stands up to this day. You can go watch it right now, and I feel like it still has a punchy punch. Again,
there's that line about America, I think, that I always think of.
In Grand Theft Auto 4?
No, for Red Dead Redemption. The snake oil salesman.
Oh.
It's talking about blood, death, murder, and all the cheating, lying. This is America kind of thing. It's it's the best.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact quote, but you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know if that's in that trailer.
It's in one of the other, but it's in one of the other trailers for the Redemption, and it was quoted like all over the place because it's such like an iconic thing that he says.
Oh, and the the first LA Noire trailer made that game look way better than it was.
It's not as good as that trailer.
The Grand Theft Auto 5 Skeletons trailer with Steve Wonder song.
Oh yeah,
that was a great trailer. It's one of the reasons why I've actually been somewhat critical about the Red Dead 2 trailers, is because the previous trailers were just so snappy. They were just so just bam, 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 bam. And these newest ones have just been a little like, meh.
I just thought of another one right away though. The first Arkham Asylum trailer. When that first trailer dropped, I was blown away. Like, and I actually still go back and rewatch that trailer every now and then because it just hyped. It got me so goddamn excited. Especially hearing like the Mark Hamill's and Kevin Conroy like talking, because for a long time they hadn't been in the same thing for a long time at that point. Like Justice League had been over for some time.
Yeah.
At that point, and a lot of people figured that we would have never heard those two guys talk again as those two characters, and then that happened, and I was like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah. What was the one I was just thinking? Dead Island. Remember?
Oh yeah, the original Dead Island trailer.
Yeah, the Reverso Dead Island trailer.
That had nothing to do with the actual movie.
Yeah,
or that movie, the game.
Yeah.
Oh, the Halo 3 trailer for when it's like the two kids laying down and they're talking, and then he wakes up and shit's just fucking exploding everywhere. Mm-hmm. That was fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking of. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm not a big fan of it, but I think that it wasn't a cover, which I gotta give them credit for, but it was a remix, but it wasn't a cover. But the initial Battlefield 1 trailer had Seven Nation Army behind it,
right.
which is a really good song, even though I just don't really know that many White Stripes songs, but like it worked really well the way that they pitched it down and did a high pass on it, so it was like it sounded like it was being played by a radio that had a blanket over it. And then the way that they mixed it into that trailer with that kind of because Seven Nation Army has that kind of marching theme to it, worked really well with that one. It's why I feel like the Battlefield 5 one that we just got done watching, that Rotterdam trailer, I feel like that's a pale imitation of what that Battlefield 1 initial trailer, because then at the very end they had even though I don't know if it was ever in the game, the guy standing in the big blimp is coming up.
Oh, that's right. No, I think that was a thing you could actually do, because people would do that to kill each other with it.
No. But I mean, this was cinematic from what must have been the single player campaign. But I never played enough of the.
But there was another. It's funny because it was a trailer that wasn't.
Ooh.
It's for a game that isn't exactly the best. But I remember actually being originally hyped for Edge of Time, for Spider-Man Edge of Time and Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions from their original trailers when they first came out.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big Spider-Man nerd, and it was the first time Christopher Daniel Barnes was Spider-Man again at that point for a long time. He hadn't been Spider-Man since the end of the 90s cartoon.
Man, you guys know so many actors. I don't care who the voice actors for anything are.
I'm really obsessed with certain only specific voice actors.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Spider-Man voice actors, I know pretty much all of them.
I remember this one, the Star Wars: The Old Republic trailers. That was that one with where they're on the space station and the shuttle crashes, and then it's the door is open and all the red lightsabers turn on.
That shit was crazy the first time.
It was Blur did 4 trailers for them, and I was like, you guys just make this?
The War for Cybertron trailers. Those are another great series of trailers.
Was that Blur?
Yeah, Blur made the trailers for both that and the Fall of Cybertron, and all of those trailers are fucking amazing. They should just be the Transformer movies, personally.
They're so good.
Blur is really good at making these things. In fact, Blur is the guys who made the Deadpool pitch trailer. They actually animated that as well.
Yeah.
And the guy who directed it was one of the guys in charge of that. The actual movie too, actually.
See, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Far Cry 5, Honor Kings. I'm just looking at this. Is Blur's literally their page full of.
They make a lot of the Halo War ones as well.
DC Online.
If you've seen a really really well animated trailer at any point, that's a great cinematic. Blur probably has something to do with it.
Is this? Yes. Holy shit! I didn't realize that they'd done this. Okay, this is a weird deep cut. First game we ever played on Rage was called Fuse.
The original version of that.
The original version of Fuse was called Overstrike. The trailer for Overstrike made it look like a really cool kind of Saints Rowy.
It was supposed to be, though, is the thing.
Yep. It was totally going to be like lighthearted, kind of a 4-person team-based thing, and then they made them.
It was like the hypest fucking thing at the time. I remember that.
Yep.
And everyone I knew when it came out was like, "What the fuck happened?"
And this is the stealth lady that has this beehive. I remember that. Yeah. I was excited about this ever since I saw it at E3, and then when it eventually finally came out, it was like, oh, it's nothing like this. It's garbage.
It wasn't even close to it. It was so generic compared to that trailer.
Yeah. What's funny
and the weapons were generic compared to the weapons in this trailer.
No. What's funny is that the weapons in this trailer are half of them are the weapons that are in there. That bubble gun is in the game. Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
The electricity gun that the one guy uses, it's in the game. I remember because I played that game all the way to the end.
Oh my God, you did, didn't you?
But yeah, this trailer is really good. And you know what? This may lead into maybe, like, to my mind, what are two examples of things that are done. Can I close out of here? No, I can't. Super well. No, I don't want to share this. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get out of Blur's dumb video player. I'm trying to just see some of the other ones. Dishonored, Middle Earth.
Raccoon City. That's another one that was just like, oh God.
So here's we would be remiss without talking about two games that have some of the most excellent trailers of all time. Not even trailers, but essentially kind of like add-ons.
Yeah.
That were obviously inspired by each other. One is Team Fortress 2. The Meet the Team videos for Team Fortress 2
so much fun.
Are amazing. Even though part of his question was like, does the gameplay stack up to the trailer? And I'm like, and Team Fortress 2?
No.
Not really.
But they're fucking hysterical.
But the
because he's banging your mother and he throws the fucking pictures down.
Yeah.
Shit gets me every fucking time.
That would be worse things than having sex with your mother. And then, of course, the Overwatch team shorts.
Yeah, that Dragons Brothers one makes me cry every time.
I feel like I have a lot of affinity for the Widowmaker Tracer one. I always have a lot of affinity for the fact that they don't lie in the like the abilities that the characters use in their shorts are the same abilities that they have in the game.
Although I don't know how that's how the specials works for those two brothers. I don't know if one cancels the other one out.
Well, no, not that, obviously, right? But
it looks fucking cool as shit.
It does look cool. In any case, yeah. So there you go. Trailers.
They even use the same voice clips for those attacks in there.
Yeah. Daniel writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael. I have a fun speculative question for you. Let's say you are the target of Agent 47 in a Hitman game. And let's be real, you're going to die. However, you do have a choice of how 47 is going to take you out. So the question is, out of all the possible ways that you could die in Hitman, what ways would you wish to go out? Do you want to be taken out like a simpleton with a headshot to the head? Or die in a spectacular fashion with one of the game's opportunity kills. In the inverse, which ways would you rather not be killed by? For me, I'd rather not be impaled on the church spire in Sapienza. Thanks, take care, and that's from Daniel.
I would not want to be shot in the can.
No, you don't want to be shot in the head?
I want to be the shot in the can, like if I was in the bathroom.
Oh.
I would not want to be killed in the bathroom. Then it just looks bad.
I don't want to be drowned in the toilet. There's a lot of like,
oh no, fuck that.
47 can make you throw up, and then while you're throwing up, he'll drown you in the toilet. I do not want to be asphyxiating in puke water while I die. I'll say that for sure. Any of the electrocution kills, I could really do without because nah.
I don't know. That's a tough one because I'm trying to think of creative ways that I could be killed that I think would be pretty fucking rad.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, my life is so mundane, I don't really think of it. Like, it's not like I'm going to be hanging out, like, at a rock concert or something and he can make, like, a speaker fall on me or some shit. Because I don't really do stuff like that. So, I don't know, like, maybe, like, sabotage a Street Fighter game or something and I'll get shocked to death or something. That seems like something that would happen to me.
Electrocution sucks. I'm going to say I got two preferences here. One, sniper rifle that I can never hear from a million miles away. You just doop-a-doop, mind your own business, and then you're just dead, right? Like, you didn't hear anything, you didn't see anything. It's just 1 minute you're walking around, the next minute you're like, hey, wait a minute. because then you don't even have to know, right? 2, I feel like accident, like a lot of those accident kills, the ones that are like a moment of terror and then instantaneous death are pretty good, because then you wouldn't even know that you were getting killed by somebody. You'd just be like, fuck, why was I standing under this giant bell? And then blam, you're dead. So
I think what would be funny is if I was just like at work or like at Walmart or something, and like a one of the fat dudes in the tiny scooter just slowly goes next to me, and he rips off his mask and his age is 47. And then he just like fucking shoots me, and I would be like, I'm not even mad.
Yeah.
Like I honestly like
I just want. 47.
I would want him to kill me in like the stupidest way possible. Like I would like to be at like a kid's birthday party, and the clown all of a sudden was just like juggling, and then one of the things he's juggling just turned out to be a grenade that he just throws at me. like something like I want him to kill me in his dumbest possible outfit that he can possibly get, like the chicken outfit,
the
or
clown
like
outfit,
either the clown outfit or the chicken outfit, or like I said, he's just like a cashier at Walmart or something for some reason, like just something really strange.
Okay. All right, I got a couple more questions and we'll be done here. VJ writes in and says, hello, lovely people. VJ here. So last night I finished The Witcher 3, and now I'm in the mood to celebrate gaming masterpieces in recent history. Witcher 3 base game was already the best game I've ever played. However, the moment I entered Toussaint in the Blood and Wine DLC, I was presented with the most breathtaking landscape of in-game wine country, and it instantly elevated the game to a masterpiece for me. The Witcher 3 is an absolute tour de force in RPG storytelling and DLCs done right. My life is now a void, and the prospect of waiting another 59 years for Cyberpunk to come out is daunting. Shout out to Skyrim for being the first to successfully create an immersive fantasy world with one of the best soundtracks ever. Please use this opportunity to gush over your landmark games and tell us what makes them so endearing to you. Thanks for answering my question, and rage on. And then they say, P.S. Jeff is now into cooking. Check out this recipe I found where this guy uses fish sauce to marinate a steak for 3 days in the fridge. I've tried it with lamb because I don't eat beef and found that it takes 4 days for optimal results, but it's now my favorite way of preparing lamb chops.
That's kind of neat.
With some fish sauce.
I'll have to try that.
So basically this is just like, hey, man, what games do you like? Games. You like them?
Yeah,
games.
We gushed over a few of them already, but one of them, of course, is Red Dead Redemption.
Sure.
And that game, one of the reasons it still endears to me is, one, I actually really like westerns, and two, it's a very heartfelt story from beginning to end, pretty much. Like it's all about what it takes, how far you're willing to go for family, and sometimes redemption itself, and sometimes it doesn't always work out, even if it seems like it's going to.
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto 3, it was one of the first open world games that ever really felt like an open world, instead of just like a top-down thing where you tried to get the joggers to follow you in a line so you could make them fall down something.
Yep.
That was the original Grand Theft Auto, if you people are wondering. Spider-Man 2, first time I felt like I could swing like Spider-Man. That's one of the reasons that's endearing to me. That's probably the only thing about that game, I guess.
I think it's funny. So many people have so much love for Spider-Man 2, and I remember it fondly, but I almost feel like people have conflated it over the years.
No,
to feel like this
that's
fantastic game.
That's the thing is that I know full well if I went back to that game, I would not want to finish it.
Right.
Because it's still a movie tie-in game, so you still have to deal with like Tobey Maguire going, and then Dr. Octopus, stop doing the thing.
Right.
Did I say that right? Like,
yeah.
like shit like that. And so the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction, that's another good one. It was one of the first times I've besides Spider-Man that I was like, you can make superhero games where you feel like the superhero kind of thing. Arkham Asylum, another thing. Like a lot of them are going to be superhero related, I'm not gonna lie. Arkham Asylum.
We're learning a lot today.
You are the Bat. Like you got to show them how Batman you are, and just like take out so many fucking people.
I think Arkham Asylum stands out a lot because of it's got it's because of the unique take on the stealth system. That it's literally based around this weird predator system of turning over. Also, for all of the copycats, and I'm sure that this is a kill switch Gears of War thing. I don't remember that many, like maybe the first Assassin's Creed was out by that time, but that style of combat that has become so ubiquitous of the kind of counterattack and hit and combo type of thing.
Even the Assassin's Creed games, they didn't feel that specific way,
right?
Because the thing about Assassin's Creed is when you would punch people out and then you'd hit the counter, is it would stop the combat entirely,
right?
Whereas Batman's is like a counter and you can just keep this flow going for a long time. And I remember when they said how they came up with the idea was music games. Was the idea of like you have this flow that you're constantly going through, like say in a Guitar Hero,
right?
Like they were like, we want to feel that kind of flow when you're beating the shit out of somebody.
Yeah. Well, it's also worth noting, I mean, especially for the combat in that like whoever did the sound design for Arkham Asylum did it right, because those hits, they fucking land that like thump 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 thump, thump when you're doing those, the real fast hits. But it's such a unique game because I still don't know how many games there are that are like that, because it's technically, I've always kind of gotten a kick out of this. I mean, Arkham Asylum, less Arkham City or Arkham Knight, but Arkham Asylum is a Metroidvania game.
Asylum's almost perfect. It's damn near perfect, except for that last boss battle.
Oh, with the Joker. I was never as mad about that as other people.
I'm not mad. It's just that compared to the rest of the game, it's not as like well done, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Yeah. But
like I still like the fight itself, just it's kind of underwhelming.
They really paced that game out really well, and it was interesting because it was, like that Spider-Man 2 is a movie tie-in game, right?
Yeah.
And like the fact that Arkham Asylum is just like a straight up Batman game in a time where, did that come out around the Batman Begins, or was it before Batman Begins?
It was way after Batman Begins.
Was it after?
Because
Okay.
there is an actual Batman Begins game that came out for the GameCube. And so Arkham Asylum came out for the 360 and the PS3, so that would have been way after Batman Begins. It would have been, in fact, it would have been after Dark Knight as well.
Did that Batman Begins game come out?
It did. The Dark Knight game never came out.
Oh.
The Batman Begins game, I remember because it tried doing some stealth stuff with it.
Yeah.
And I remember people being like, this isn't actually that bad of a game. It's just that, like everything else, it was a movie tie-in game.
Yeah.
And it had these weird Batmobile sequences where you're being timed, that kind of thing.
I mean, oh man, that's just fucking it looks so gross.
Yeah, but back then that was like one of the best things you could get, as was this, and like one of the best Batman games before Arkham Asylum was Batman Vengeance, which was a game that was based on the animated series that was just okay at best, kind of thing.
Okay.
And we got a lot of bad video superhero video games.
It's funny
we
because
got to that point,
because this doesn't look like it holds up, but like I can go play Arkham Asylum, like it holds up. Like,
yeah, I've replayed Arkham Asylum a bunch of times.
Yeah. I know. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that I could. You guys know that we could talk about Dark Souls or Metal Gear all day, every day.
Yeah, Metal Gear.
But I was actually thinking of the other day just how well put together Resident Evil 4 is.
Oh no, absolutely.
You don't have to know anything about Resident Evil 1 or 2 or 3 or Code Veronica, because I never even played 3 or Code Veronica.
Same.
Like, you can walk into it and it's just, here's Leon, and it's just like the tone is good. But what's the thing? You know what? This is one of those things. So you know how in Uncharted they have that frame blending technique they use to make Drake's like kind of actions look a lot more fluid. They'll have the same motion like 8 different ways, and then they kind of just like blend between them.
Yeah.
I don't know why more games don't do what RE4 does with difficulty, because right about the director is that RE4 has an AI director that is watching how you're playing the game, and if you're kicking ass, it starts dropping less ammo and less items and less things, and makes the enemies have more of like the bug head plaga start coming out more often. And if you're doing poorly, it starts to scale the game down and give you more ammo and easier headshots and fewer plagas that are less aggressive. And it's like, and all this stuff, it was never touted as like a thing. It was never like, Resident Evil 4, it's got interesting adaptive difficulty. It was like, nope, just here's Resident Evil 4. But when you put Resident Evil 4 on medium and you play through the game, it's like, I don't know, it's like having somebody just perfectly matching your motions, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm struggling, and I'm like, and then I'm like, all right, I'm pushing back, I'm really digging deep, and the game's like, all right, let's like back up just a little bit off
a really
this guy.
nice herb, like that,
right?
That would you desperately need,
right? And then you're like, oh shit, I just managed to get through there by the skin of my teeth, and I don't know why more games don't try that sort of adaptive difficulty. You know what I would really like for that would be if there was a game like with a reputation for difficulty like the Souls or like Cuphead or something that had that kind of adaptive difficulty that would like, let you kind of eke out a good hit, at the end that would just kind of like not just let the game play, not make the game too easy, but just make it so that it's challenging, but it's not too challenging. That if it's too challenging for you, then the game's going to fucking back up off you a little bit and let you have a couple of minutes to catch your breath. I've always thought that was such an elegant and interesting concept that I wish that more games did it. Like, I wish that more games had a thing where if you were having a problem, and I could see it being abused, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is if you figure out like what the, like, oh, I'm just not going to pick up any ammo, and then it's just going to keep dropping ammo until I'm going to go pick up like 100 ammos or something like that. But by the same token, I really, really enjoy Resident Evil 4. It's on my short list of games to someday play as a sequential.
I loved it. The thing is funny because I didn't beat it when it first came out. I didn't play it until like 3 years ago when they re-released it for the PS4.
Oh yeah,
and I got it on sale too, and I plowed through that game. I was like, man, this game's fucking amazing.
Yep.
As for other games that I would gush over, it'd be Final Fantasy 2/4. I guess the reason I say /4 is because it's technically part 4,
right?
And it was one of the first Final Fantasy games I ever played, and I loved the shit out of Cecil's story so much more than I would Final Fantasy 7's. But Final Fantasy 7 is another one, only because of all of the crazy fucking mini games that were also in the middle of that RPG.
Yeah. I can't bring myself to look at Final Fantasy 7 anymore because I have a lower limit on low poly games where I'm like, there is no amount of squinting or pretending that I can do not to look at this and just be like, this game looks like garbage. It looks like total fucking garbage. Like, the cutscenes are okay, but the character models still look like garbage. So
I've never really had that issue because I still go back and play Super Nintendo games all the time.
But see,
I still play The Death and Return to Superman. But that's the thing is I still play terrible Super Nintendo games.
Oh well. So I can't speak to that. But are you
gonna go back and play The Death and Return to Superman with me? Because I'm totally down with doing that as a sequential.
No. But see, I still feel that like sprite-based stuff holds up because of the transition out of sprite-based. That it has an easier nostalgia value.
Yeah. Like Star Fox is hard to look at now. The original Star Fox.
Yeah, anything with the mode 7, heavy mode 7ing is.
I can get past some of the awful stuff in Final Fantasy 7 only because it's also really funny looking because it looks like what would happen if kindergartners decided to make a play.
Fair enough. Last question comes in from Andrew who says, hey, Jeff and Mike, really glad to hear that you're enjoying My Hero Academia. Part of my love for the show comes from discovering all the different types of powers and the weird ways that they're used. What's your favorite power in the show so far, and what one would you choose for yourself? Andrew. And he has a PS says, sorry, the co-host hasn't seen the show, but you have.
I have not really seen it.
You have
much,
not.
But I gotta admit, I've seen a lot of clips of it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be a cheater and say I really just like the shit of All Might. Because All Might is really fucking cool.
Yeah. The lore of All Might gets way more interesting the further you go down that road.
That's what I've heard. But I think the best example is when he beats the shit out of that dude who can absorb shocks.
Yeah.
And just like overloads that motherfucker.
Oh,
that sequence is just so fucking cool.
Yeah. There are a lot of really interesting characters in the show. I feel like one of my favorites.
Also, Frog Girl. I like her too.
Oh, Froppy?
Yeah. I like her.
Or Ura, whatever her name is. She, yeah. I like her because whenever they talk about a character, they have this places where they'll bring up a character and then they'll stop and they'll explain what their powers are, right? And whenever they explain Froppy, they're just like, she can do pretty much everything a frog can do. The end.
And
like,
she's great.
Have a lot of interesting characters. Some of these are not even people that I know that much about. There was a character, and I'm sorry, this is a very minor spoiler for for a part of season 2. Yeah, there he is. There's a very minor spoiler for part of season 2, but it's just a very I don't know. If you thought that it's one of those things where it's like the character is brought up as a you know what? Here, I'll tell you what. We're gonna do it this way. Michael, tell people where they can find you on the internet.
They can find me on oneofus.net.
Okay.
We did some reviews. It's great.
Excellent.
Oh, also RTX coverage.
Mail@ragelight.com is the email address. Hey, now, if you don't want to know anything about My Hero Academia, you can stop the podcast and you can go about your day. One of my favorite characters that I find really interesting is this character from the general department students that shows up. His name is Hitoshi Shinso. Spoiler alert for a very, 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 very small part of season 2. I don't know how you could see this part of the show and then think like, oh no, this is going to be the end for our heroes, especially considering that there's like another season after this one.
Yeah. Also, it's a shonen.
Yeah. So they have in season 2, they have a big thing where they're doing the Olympics. They have a big sports kind of, everybody's clashing and they're all trying to get points and they're trying to become the victors. There's like heroes looking for sidekicks and like companies looking for heroes to hire on the thing. So they're like at a certain point they're going up against each other in a bracketed fight all the way to find out who's the best. That's like the end of the thing. And this guy,
of course, there's a tournament in shonen.
Yeah. This guy is he's not part of class A and he's not part of class B. He's part of the general studies class, which is like people who aren't really being super trained as heroes.
Yeah.
They're the ones who like scored really high on the entrance exams but didn't do well on like the practical test or have like really high scores to get in or whatever. And this guy shows up and leers around, not like in a sexual way, but just kind of like creeps around. He's got these big bags under his eyes. And he kind of just creeps around the outside and he just kind of keeps being like very sinister. So they have a thing in the challenge right before the end game where they have to take these headbands that have people's points away, and the people who have the teams with the top 10 teams with or 5 teams with the most points basically win. And it's called a cavalry battle where it's literally like 2-3 people carry a 4th person like they're a horse, and they all run around. So they all use their powers in kind of crazy ways. At the end of this, when they're announcing the victors, they're like, and like this guy and his team are number 5, and like, who is the fuck is this guy? And so one of the characters comes up to the main guy, Deku, and he's like, yeah, I don't remember what happened, but like we got all our shit taken away from us during that fight, and I think it has something to do with this guy. And his power is this: if you talk to him, if you answer him when he says something, he can control your mind.
Oh, wow.
But if you shut the fuck up, like nothing, that doesn't happen. And you don't really remember exactly what happened, but if you get like a big shock, like if something happens, it'll break his spell on you. So when he's fighting the main character, the first thing is he's like, oh, did you get your powers by accident? I don't think you're even good enough to be a hero. He's like, I'll show you. And then he just stops. And he's just like, all right, now turn around and like walk out of the arena and forfeit this match. And he turns and then it says, of course it's a shonen show. So it's this internal monologue as he's slowly walking towards the edge. But what I think is really interesting about this guy is afterwards he talks about his backstory. He basically says that like every time that anybody finds out his power, everybody's all just like, oh my God, that's such a villainous power to have, is that they all think of him. They're like, this would be the thing that a bad guy would, the kind of power that a bad guy would have. And he's like, I want to be a hero. Like, so he gets into here and he's like, there's nothing that this power could have done on the big strength test that they had at the beginning. But now that we're in a one-on-one, because it's against robots at the beginning. And he's like, but now we're at person to person. Well, now I can do a thing. And so he's trying to just make a name for himself. And it actually turns out to be kind of a tragic story where you're like, this guy wants to be a superhero, but he can't punch a robot. And everybody, when they hear what his powers, they're just like, oh my God, that sounds horrifying.
Because he's basically got Purple Man powers.
Sort of, yeah.
Kind of, like almost like that. And yeah, and that's the thing, is that I mentioned a bad guy who has powers like that. So it's like, it's very rare for a hero to have a power set like that. Not because heroes can't have a power set like that. It's just that 9 times out of 10, when they have a power set like that, they usually use it to fuck someone over. Right.
Yeah. And I kind of like the idea. I was kind of gaming it out in my head of how he like if he was a hero, he would need to be, especially if people found out what his powers were, because you have to like register your powers, and when they're your hero, everybody knows. It's like he would have to be the biggest asshole, because his power only works if you say something back to him, right? So he'd have to be able to provoke a person into saying something to him in order to actually use his power.
He would have to be quippy as hell.
Right. So in any case, I thought that was a very unique and interesting power.
I always appreciate when the series is willing to do something unique with superpowers.
Yeah. I also really like Bakugo, who's kind of like the asshole friend of the main character. He basically, his sweat is explosives, and so he can basically make stuff explode with his hands, and it's kind of an interesting power because he can use it like to fly. He can just explode behind himself.
That's so weird.
Yeah,
but that sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Eraserhead is also, I won't go into any further. Eraserhead is one of their teachers, and his thing is that if he looks at a person, he can keep them from using their powers.
Oh, okay.
But if he blinks, like, they can use their powers again. So, like, when he fights, his eyes are always just, like, red because he's got them,
yes, they're really staring at him.
Plastered open. And he's got this like, it looks like a night, like a pair of sunglasses, but it looks like a night visor, and it's got slats in it, and it's so that the enemies can't tell who he's looking at at any given time.
That's really neat.
And I'm like, yeah, he's interesting. And then he also uses this big sash that he has to like tie people up. So it's a really cool series. I like a lot of the stuff that's going on in here.
I appreciate you talking about an anime and liking it. And it blows me away that it's one that I'm not like watching currently.
Yep. All right, and that's it. So you heard the email address, you heard the thing, you heard about all the great games that you could be playing right now, you heard about all the great stuff that's coming up, you heard about a bunch of animes and movies and TV shows you can watch.
Play The Death and Return of Superman, you'll love it.
Yeah. No, don't do that. You won't love it.
Almost got him.
Don't do it.
He agreed for a second.
Don't listen, you guys. Don't listen.